And I said, what struck you? Never been to a Trump rally before. And a lot of the expectations were met, about the rowdy crowds and having a good time and Trump having a good time. He said, what struck me is how many signs there were for early voting. I said, oh, really? Tell me more. And he said they rolled in a bunch of big highway signs so that people were coming to the rallies or waiting in lines, make sure they see it. And also inside the arena as well, they're running a bunch of videos, which they did during the convention also. But the viewing audience at home did not see that during the convention in Milwaukee. Look, my point is that if you want to win in 2024 on the national level, you better embrace early voting because that's the way half the states do it, period.
And it'll be mid-October when it gets going in the state of Georgia. And it's interesting, it was a couple of years ago, Democrats, President Biden, they made a big to-do about election law changes in the state of Georgia. They had said that it was dragging things back to almost the 1800s Jim Crow era, trying to suffocate the black vote in the state of Georgia. You don't really hear that anymore.
Yes.
What happened with that? There were boycotts. Remember the All-Star game moved, didn't it, for baseball?
Yeah, I think specifically with the All-Star game, the way they interpreted the law was just inaccurate. And they took the game out of Georgia and they ticked a lot of people off and they said, this is not who we are. Please read the bill.
Nobody talks about it anymore.
You've got major corporations there like Coca-Cola that issued corporate statements that turned out to be wrong. But listen, I think Brian Kemp, I think he's a fair player, and I think he knows the state, and I think he's ready to turn it back red again. I would remind you that Democrats are going to fight for this in a big way, as are Republicans too. But it was just 11,000 votes. 11,000 votes cast in a massive state where people are voting all over the place. That's really. It's a really small margin.
It's 11,000 and whatever, 800 votes. Remember that former President Trump infamously in a phone call with the Georgia Secretary of State said, can you find me these votes, right? Find me these votes. And he's been indicted in Georgia over his challenges to 2020. That doesn't seem to be affecting him here.
We'll see.
The case is stalled, right, at the moment?
Oh, the court case. Yeah, it may never happen based on the way it's unraveling. We'll see about that. But I thought your question was more to whether or not it affects the outcome of the vote.
Yeah, well, both. I mean, both. The case is stalled, and it doesn't seem to be affecting. He's ahead in the polls.
Yeah, don't know. Listen, if people are saying the economy is the issue, then that plays to Trump's favor. If abortion's the issue, that plays to Kamala Harris's favor. If immigration the issue, that plays to Trump. You can go down the list and pick them out yourself.
You mentioned abortion rights. Last week, Vice President Harris went to Georgia touting abortion rights against the 6-week ban that Georgia has in place. And they're claiming that a woman died, got delayed care for an abortion complication. And they're blaming Republicans for that.
And the governor came out and said those facts are not accurate. I don't know what the facts are. But if I'm Kamala Harris and I'm running toward that issue, I would go to Georgia as well. I don't know on this particular case. I know the mother came out. It was quite emotional about her.
And she met with the family.
About her daughter.
Harris did,
and we'll see how that plays. But I don't think just in Georgia. I think, you could probably extrapolate that over a number of states, not just battleground states. The gender divide is real in this election. And depending on where you are, you can find some polling that favors Kamala Harris by 20 points among women.
Wow.
And conversely, 20 points among men in favor of Trump. It's a lot of the stories that will unfold, Dave, come November 6 and 7 and 8 and 9, when we're reading these deep think pieces, when we're not at work anymore, they're going to reveal a certain aspect of America that a lot of people can't anticipate yet because the vote has not happened. But the fact that women are so heavily tilted toward Harris and men are so heavily tilted toward Trump is going to tell us something, and we'll watch how that unfolds.
In many other battleground states you can go to, like Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, they have Senate races that could be important for who controls Congress. Currently, it's a very tight Senate, and Democrats could lose it. Republicans are trying to win it. Georgia doesn't have that.
Don't know. Some of these Senate races could find a split ticket. You could find somebody winning at the top of the ticket and a senator from the other party winning the undercard, and that's a real possibility. I think Republicans actually feel somewhat optimistic as we're talking right now about flipping the Senate And if you look at their targets of opportunity, it's West Virginia. That's going red. But that only puts them at 50. And if Harris wins and Trump loses, you're at a 50-50 tie, and her vice president, Tim Walz, at the time, would be the tie-breaking vote. That's why you hear a lot about Montana. Tim Sheehy appears to be running a pretty good campaign. Some of the polling appears to favor him.
So as we focus again and finish up on Georgia, there's been so much talk about Pennsylvania, 19 electoral votes. Georgia has 16. It's also a really big prize. Which of these two candidates, Harris or Trump, do you think can afford to lose Georgia the most?
Wow. I'd need a board to play it out. But if Harris were to complete her objective, which is win Wisconsin, win Michigan, and win Pennsylvania, she would not need Georgia. Trump could win Georgia, win North Carolina, win Arizona, win Nevada, and he would still need one of those three states that I just mentioned.
Okay.
A Michigan, a Wisconsin, or a Pennsylvania. I think right now, as we're talking, any way you slice it, Pennsylvania is critical for both campaigns because it's the easiest way to get to 270.
So it sounds like you think Trump needs Georgia the most.
He's got to hold it. That's my feeling. He's got to hold it.
He's got to,
and then you have to execute somewhere in the northern states, upper Midwest, and win one of them.
Bill Hemmer, you can watch him on election night with the Fox News Channel coverage. You can also watch him weekdays 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on America's Newsroom. Bill Hemmer, great to talk to you. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1 and newstalkstl.com.
Todd is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Hi, I'm Todd, and I live in Georgia. I'm a veteran of 23 years. I love to give back to the community, whether it's my fellow veterans, some guy on the street corner. I offer what I can, when I can. I started noticing that my memory was slipping, and I wanted to take proactive measures to try to help that. I saw a Prevagen commercial, and I did some research on it, and I wanted to find out, does this stuff really work? I started taking Prevagen about 3 years ago. Since taking Prevagen, I feel clearer in my thoughts, my memory has improved, and generally just more on point.
Prevagen is available in stores everywhere without a prescription, based on a clinical study of subgroups of individuals who are cognitively normal or mildly impaired. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
An important message from Byram Healthcare. If you live with diabetes, you know how challenging and painful it can be to manage your blood sugar. Whether you have private insurance, traditional Medicare, or Medicaid, that can all change. If you inject insulin or have hypoglycemic events without insulin, you may qualify to receive at little or no cost, less copay and deductible, a continuous glucose monitor. It provides blood sugar readings with no uncomfortable finger sticks. It alerts you in real time to potential spikes and lows with your blood sugar levels. Byram Healthcare has been named Best Overall Diabetes Supply Company 4 years in a row by Verywell Health. We carry all major brands and will work with your insurance to get your CGM approved. If you have diabetes, call a U.S.-based Byram Healthcare specialist now. See if you qualify and end the finger stick.
Call 888-907-8429. 888-907-8429. That's 888-907-8429.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
We'll speak with Ethan Thappy of the Missouri Hemp Trade Association on their upcoming psychedelic conference. And at 5:20, Brianna Lyman, elections correspondent for The Federalist.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps, weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL.
Report cards are a good way to show how well your kids are doing in class and where they might need improvement. We at the Show Me Institute believe schools should get grades too, so parents can see how their child's school compares to others. That's why we came up with the Missouri School Rankings Project. Click on the website moschoolrankings.org and it's all there. Rankings and letter grades for all the schools in Missouri. The rankings are based on categories such as student performance in English language arts and math, ACT scores, and graduation rates. Then we take the rankings and come up with a grade point average, just like your child has. Each school and district has a grade, and the website is easy to use. And now we've added spending data for every district, so parents, taxpayers, and policymakers can see where the money is going. Don't you want to know how your child's school stacks up? Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. The Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
Tim Jones here for AMF Electric, in business since 1965, offering a full line of industrial, commercial, residential, electrical, and system services. AMF's residential department will serve all of your wiring needs, including emergency repair, expansion, or new builds. AMF Electric, fully experienced in every commercial installation, including food service, medical and dental services, as well as office expansions. Call them 314-647-4066. Online, amfelectric.com. That's amfelectric.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
What happens next?
You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues.
Happens right here.
Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat.
The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
America Decides 2024.
That he would weaponize the Department of Justice.
If she won the election, they'll go back to destroying our country.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
The thunder to football. Fox Weather is storming the field with the risk of weather impact on the hottest NFL games this season. Listen to Storming the Field every Friday on FoxNewsPodcasts.com. Look at what's happening from the Fox News Rundown.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, September 25th, 2024. I'm Ted Lindner, and this is the Fox News Rundown. House Speaker Mike Johnson looking at Democrats to prevent a partial government shutdown. Fox's Kristen Goodwin with more.
House Speaker Mike Johnson is expected to put a measure to keep the government open through December 20th up for a vote, requiring a 2/3 vote to pass. Facing GOP opposition, Johnson asking Democrats for help to move it forward, calling this the last available play. The speaker coming up short last week with a package offering a 6-month stopgap that included a measure to require proof of U.S. citizenship for voter registrations. The latest legislation includes $230 million in funding for the Secret Service. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer urging House Republicans to expedite passing it, stressing the Senate will move quickly once receiving the bill. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Vice President Kamala Harris set to deliver an economic-focused speech today. Manufacturing and the economy was former President Trump's focus yesterday in Savannah. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal.
Former President Trump said if elected to another term,
I will appoint a manufacturing ambassador whose sole task, and it'll be a great one, will be to go around the world and convince major manufacturers to pack up and move back to America where they want to be.
He told a rally in Savannah, Georgia, that he would work to bring the corporate tax rate down to 15% for manufacturers who promise to make products in the U.S.
You'll be able to write off 100% of the cost of heavy machinery and other equipment in the first year.
He called Vice President Harris a tax queen and said if she's president, companies will leave the U.S.
New charges for the man who authorities say stalked out the former president earlier this month in his South Florida golf course. Ryan Ruth now charged with attempting to assassinate a major presidential candidate. I'm Ted Lindner, and this is the Fox News Rundown.
This is the Fox News Rundown.
This is News Talk STL on 101.9, 94.1, and newstalkstl.com.
On the next,
Larry Connors, USA.
Dakota Wood joins us today, retired Marine Colonel, and he's got some views on what Israel is doing right and we're not.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Pat Fader of Comprehensive Chiropractic. Doc, I hear you all have a new treatment program for everyone's chronic knee pain.
Tim, that's right. We are helping patients with chronic knee pain by addressing the root cause of their condition.
And what makes your program so unique?
Well, Tim, many programs focus on just one component of the problem, the structural component. Our program focuses on the metabolic and neurological component to complete the picture and improve our patients' outcomes. We get to the root cause of what is driving inflammation in a person's body and address it directly.
For your chronic knee pain and more, visit cchiropractic.com. All information, make an appointment at cchiropractic.com.
If you're considering an annuity as part of your retirement plan, we need to talk. Hi, I'm Bob Stockdale, Senior Vice President Investments with the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel and host of On the Money Saturday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL 1019. Annuities can be a useful tool for some retirement investors, but not all annuities are created equal. Every week, we meet clients who own complex annuities that don't suit their needs and, in some cases, actively undermine their retirement plan. Before you purchase an annuity, get a second opinion from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. Requesting a consultation is free of charge. To request a free consultation, contact us at clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call us at 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com or 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member NYSE and SIPC.
Tony Colombo here for the Farmers Co-op Old Town Country Store in Old Town St. Peters, where they have a huge selection of products and services for your yard and home, including a full line of lawn and garden products, a full line of products for animal care, and that includes anything from livestock to the family dog or cat. They'll fill any size propane tank for about half the price of a new one, and so much more. Visit them in St. Peters on 2nd Street, right behind the QT at 70 and Mid-Rivers Mall Drive. And check out all their products and services at oldtowncountry.com.
The O'Reilly Update, brought to you by Seavers JCB. Visit them at their St. Peters location.
Bill O'Reilly here, and I'm warming up. Stand by for the O'Reilly Update Morning Edition. But first, are you feeling the impact of the recent changes in the timeshare industry? My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you. For more than a decade, they have successfully helped over 20,000 owners get out of their timeshare with an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau. Customer service is their priority. For a free consultation and a guaranteed solution, 855-551-7066 or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. On this Wednesday, Kamala Harris taking a little heat in New York City for declining an invitation to attend the annual Al Smith dinner. That's a Fat Cat Catholic fundraiser designed to bring both political parties into a lavish room in order to gently mock them. Mr. Smith was the first Roman Catholic to secure a presidential nomination. That was back in 1928. Old Al got waxed by Herbert Hoover and was lucky to lose. The Great Depression dropped on Hoover's head the very next year. Anyway, Kamala wants no part of this exposition because she is the queen of abortion promotion. That procedure is considered a grave sin by the church. Hard to yuck things up under those circumstances. The strategy to put the vice president in the top job is now obvious. Television ads will do her talking. I have learned she is likely to do an interview with 60 Minutes, and that might be it for her in the press zone. Donald Trump is also expected to talk with 60 Minutes. Not since the immortal Warren G. Harding has a presidential candidate hid from the media the way Kamala is doing. But it worked for Warren, and it may very well work for Kamala. Back after this. If you own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles, listen up. CarShield is a low-cost monthly vehicle protection plan now available to you. This protection plan is at an all-time low price. Please call 800-925-7584 for a free quote. Drivers who activate today will also receive free roadside assistance and towing at no additional cost. That is 800-925-7584 right now. That is the Morning O'Reilly Update. More analysis later on.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. After days of much needed rainfall, we're going to start to dry things out this afternoon. Temperatures nearing 75 degrees, a lot more sun as those clouds begin to break later. There is only a 10% chance for an isolated shower, but most of us are going to be dry. Now, this dry stretch does not last too long. While I expect Thursday to primarily have dry conditions, rain develops over the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
The Missouri Army National Guard can help you get the education you need to land the career you've always wanted. The Guard will pay up to 100% of your tuition for up to 39 credit hours per academic year at 90 colleges and tech schools across the state. You're eligible as soon as you enlist. Learn more about the many benefits that come with serving part-time in the Missouri Army National Guard. Visit nationalguard.com today. Sponsored by the Missouri Army National Guard, aired by the Missouri Broadcasters Association and this station.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL. For podcast articles and more, find us on newstalkstl.com. Having your first cup of coffee? Mike's on his third. This is Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Apparently today is the big day. Congress is going to decide to keep the government running. Darn it. Anyway, let's assume for the sake of argument that that's a good thing. I know most people say it is. But what we really have here is the Republicans, after talking tough again, simply backtracking and giving the Democrats exactly what they want. I understand there's a strategic reason. I had a conversation with a congressman yesterday who laid out why he thinks that they should go ahead and just give in on this because it's more about the election than it is about some of the other things like the SAVE Act. Let's get to that just a little bit here. I'm Mike Ferguson. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. Thanks for making News Talk STL part of your day. Let's talk about something a little closer to home here. Obviously, St. Louis still reeling from the death of Officer David Lee, killed by an illegal immigrant who was driving drunk without a license on I-70. I'm not saying that to be snarky. I'm not trying to make light of it, but that's the actual situation. So where do we go from here? And if the federal government won't do its job, then what can be done locally or what can be done at the state level? We had State Senator Nick Schroer on the program with us yesterday to review all of that. Here's what he had to say.
Okay, so here's what we know now is that the illegal immigrant who ended up killing Officer David Lee was known to law enforcement, was known to police. He was drunk again. He was already on probation. He had been reported to the feds going back to 2020. And over the past 4 years, the federal government, knowing that an illegal immigrant criminal was here, chose to do nothing about this. I mean, this is the jump ball question, but when you learned all of this information after Sunday, really over the last, 18 hours or so, I mean, just from a lawmaker's perspective, an attorney's perspective, I mean, how does this hit you?
Well, it's embarrassing, number one. It's embarrassing to have this happen right under our very eyes. You know, we tout St. Charles County as being law and order, but yet this individual in 2020 was able to beat up, literally, known to law enforcement to get drunk under the age of 21, doesn't have a driver's license, is known to be illegal, but yet beats up his girlfriend, takes the kid, puts the kid in the car while he's drunk, drives off, puts that kid in danger. It's embarrassing that he wasn't deported, that he wasn't held for ICE, like what I believe the system was doing back when I was a criminal defense attorney. But it's scarier than that, because this really came to my attention, and I knew this was a bad issue. The border issue was a really bad issue. But back in March of this year, O'Fallon, Missouri, which ranks in the top 10 in the safest, suburban cities in America, year after year after year, we had a illegal immigrant stabbed 2 people at a laundromat here in O'Fallon, Missouri. And then just this past week, we had down in Joplin, Missouri, 2 brothers, illegal immigrants, shot a man from, I think it was Iowa, shot a man, killed him, stole his car, drove to the Kansas City area, shot another woman. As they were being apprehended, they shot somebody else. and they dumped his body in the ditch. I mean, this is something that is happening all throughout Missouri. We just reported on about 8 different instances of this crime happening all across the state of Missouri. And as you guys said previously, yes, not only is every state a border state now, every town is a border town, as we've got people being shipped here on the daily from these NGOs, these non-government organizations that are using our tax dollars to further perpetuate these crimes.
Morning, Nick, Gabe here. So I can't help but feel a bit powerless, with the federal government deciding not to do anything. Well, and there aren't really laws that allow us to intervene in this. We can't, drive the guy to Mexico and toss him over the wall if we could. I mean, I'd like to if we could. So is there any recourse? I mean, it feels as though we're kind of locked in this suicide pact with the federal government.
It's interesting. I was just at the border this past week with FAIR, the Federation for American Immigration Reform. We had about 30 different legislators. There were me, one other senator, and a whole bunch of state representatives that were down there learning from not only the Border Patrol, not only from the Texas border czar on the state level as well, but there were tons of other law enforcement from around the nation that have given us ideas on how to deal with this stuff. And just as I'm trying to formulate a plan, this pops up right in front of us that, this person should have been held for ICE. And that's what we're going to have to do. There are laws on the books. There are federal laws on the books that these people fleeing whatever nation they allege they're coming from. And I use that term loosely because some of these instances, we don't know where they're coming from. Some of these instances, law enforcement has said, we don't really know who this person is. So they're just giving us a name and we're using good faith here. And that's going to be their new name from here on out. But I think ultimately what we're going to have to do, if Kamala wins or if Trump wins, we're going to have to start enforcing our own state laws. And look, if you are here illegally, if you've already breached the law in coming here, showing that you have a blatant disregard for our laws in America and our laws in Missouri, well, we're going to enhance your sentence. And especially like this individual or these brothers from Joplin, there needs to be a sentence enhancement. Now, look, we can hold you for ICE and you can be deported, but if the federal government's not going to do their job, we're going to make sure that you're not going to get out if we believe that you are a harm to society. So we did increase those sentences so we don't have a liberal judge that's just going to let you back out on the street like they did here recently. There was a young woman, a legal immigrant, drove down the wrong way. I think Senator Josh Hawley's been talking about this, and killed a 12-year-old young man from St. Charles County just a couple days before his birthday. And the judge, shrank the bond down and let that person back out. So we need to make sure that these people are locked up. If ICE wants to come and detain them, great. If they are detained, if they are kicked back out and deported, and they come back in, that's going to be another sentence enhancement as well. But yeah, that's the very thing. If the federal government's not going to do their job, we collectively as state officials, we swore an oath to protect life, liberty, and property. And as of right now, we're failing in that oath because people like this illegal immigrant and many more are treading upon our rights daily.
Good morning, Nick Stell here. So we're seeing city and state officials in sanctuary cities and sanctuary states asking homeowners now to open up their homes to illegal aliens. So how do we put brakes on this thing?
Well, it's interesting that just this past week, St. Louis was celebrating the fact that there, increased numbers of foreign-born citizens. I don't want to say illegal because a lot of these people are using the parole program that has been expanded under the federal government unlawfully, might I add. It's being challenged by, I think, the majority of the states. So they don't want to say illegal, but I will. Most of these people are here illegally, and they're using this facade of a parole program to be placed in cities like St. Louis and Chicago and many others. So, yeah, I mean, it's a great question. How do we put the brakes on this thing? We're going to have some leadership from the top down. We're going to need a governor who's going to come in. Hopefully, if we don't get a special session, which I'm not hopeful for, but hopefully this new governor, possibly Mike Kehoe, will come in saying, look, we will deport these illegal immigrants. I know that was a big topic of discussion when Senator Bill Eigel was saying, yeah, we need to deport all of these people. We need to shut down these sanctuary cities and penalize them by withholding funds. That's something that we're going to have to do going into this next budgetary year.
We're going to be visiting with Senator Eigel on Friday, by the way, here. We're talking with State Senator Nick Schroer right now. One of the interesting things you mentioned, holding and detaining, these illegals for ICE. The authorities in St. Charles County did what they were supposed to do and did alert them, is what my understanding is. And so apparently the federal authorities went, we're good. And then do they just not? I mean, they can't hold them indefinitely at the local level if the feds say, no, we're not going to deal with it. But my understanding is is that in St. Peters and St. Charles County, they did try to report them. They did say, hey, here he is, come get him.
Well, we're going to see right now, and I've already got requests out with the court, with different judicial employees to figure out, okay, what did happen? Why did this happen? We can learn from it to make sure it never happens again. And like I said previously, if it requires us as a state level to increase the criminal penalties in these types of situations, so it's not just a catch and release, then so be it. Then we're going to have to go down that avenue without infringing upon the rights of the legal citizens here. We need to carefully craft a bill that says we're going to enhance these sentences. If you are breaking the laws as an illegal immigrant, you're disregarding the laws by punching women in the face, stealing babies, getting behind the wheel drunk when you're under the age of 21. Look what happened here. We didn't deter his future crimes. He drove drunk again, didn't have a license, was here unlawfully. The other weird thing too is that this guy was working somewhere. So we need to go after those that are employing them, that are employing these illegal immigrants, because he was able to afford a private attorney back in 2020. So there's a lot to this story. We need to, as lawmakers, take this thing seriously.
Okay, last question here. Let me just get real here. When you go back to work at the state legislature in January, is there going to be an appetite? And I would say among the Democrats, but I mean of the same Republicans who have let us down year after year after year, to actually get tough and pass something with teeth in it, knowing that the Kansas City Star and the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and the Columbia Missourian and the Missouri Independent are all gonna whine and bellyache about how you're being mean to the poor immigrant mother who's just trying to find a better life, and on that kind of crap.
Well, they're going to have to, because this crime, like we said previously, this crime is not only in St. Charles County and St. Louis, it's in Kansas City area, it's in Joplin, it's in northern Missouri, it's in Boone County, it's everywhere right now. So I will remind them on a daily basis by reading the stories, just like I read on Stand and Fight on Sunday, reading the stories of these illegal immigrants causing chaos in their towns, raping people, kidnapping people. We had 5 in northern Missouri that kidnapped a young girl from Iowa, was trying to bring her down here in the state of Missouri. Thankfully, they were caught by our members of law enforcement. So yeah, it's going to be all hands on deck. We're going to need a team effort, but getting loud, getting on the megaphone, and reminding people they need to stand and fight for the legal citizens here in to maintain law and order in Missouri.
First morning news dump of the day comes your way here in just about 2 minutes and 28 seconds right here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. News, analysis, opinion.
Russia will not prevail in this war.
Trump said Kamala Harris just copied my no tax on tips policy.
Iran doesn't want Trump back.
101.9 and 94.1.
Why? Because he held them accountable.
News Talk STL.
Hi, I'm Rodney Wallner.
And I'm Jen Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Jen, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission plan?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What's the best time to sell your home?
Right now, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, it's Tony Colombo for my friends at A+ Plumbing and Drain, and they truly are our friends because they have done it all at our house over the years, from putting in a new faucet to installing a whole new bathroom from scratch. The team at A+ has always done great work for a great price. A+ Plumbing and Drain is a local family-owned business that can take care of all your plumbing needs and specializes in new construction and home renovation. Call A+ for your next project at 636-288-7126 or through Facebook at A+ Plumbing and Drain.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss as part of our lineup every week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. And in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP, member FINRA and SIPC.
Every day, the men and women of the United States Marine Corps demonstrate their commitment to defend the American way of life. Since 1775, we have served our nation as a force in readiness. From combat operations to humanitarian assistance in every corner of the world. No matter where the mission takes us today or wherever our country needs us tomorrow, we always remember the land we call home. As Marines, we take a stand for each other, for our nation, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
This is 1019 and 94.1.
Female millennial Trump supporter. I listen to it like every day. Like, seriously, you get it.
News Talk STL.
Hi, it's Dan Bongino here, and I'm proud to be on News Talk STL every weekday from 11 to 2. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, this day's starting off a little bit weird.
Why is that?
I just walked in and then somehow accidentally closed my browser on my computer here.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so I got to redo all that. And then I went to put my headphones on and realized I just left them on my desk. So
okay. Well, you're
if
0
you're
for
not,
2.
If you're not in radio, you don't know what that means, but it's very, very weird. But anyway, a lot going on here today. Missouri follows through with another execution, and this is probably the most controversial execution yet in the history of the state. We'll talk about that here in a minute. It's 5:51 right now. But willing to change how the United States Senate operates in order to make sure abortion happens throughout the nation.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep. And also a Hall of Famer announces that he's got a very sad medical condition. And he kind of mentioned it just like, as a matter of fact, as part of a testimony, and people were going, wait a minute, what? All right, I'll play that for you here in just a second. Let's go ahead and get some news dumped on you.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks. The Morning News Dump.
Another execution takes place in Bonne Terre. 55-year-old Marcellus Williams died by lethal injection on Tuesday. He was convicted of the brutal murder of Leisha Gale in 1998. Gale was stabbed over 40 times in her U City home during a burglary. Williams and his supporters argued that he was innocent, that he was wrongly convicted. County Prosecutor Wesley Bell was actually among those who asked for the execution to be stopped. The case was heard. It was appealed. It was investigated for over 20 years, and there is no shortage of disagreement on that. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. All right. Vice President Kamala Harris reportedly planning a trip to the southern border. Well, she is the border czar, right? So it's nice that she finally pays a visit.
Well, that's the rumor.
That's what we hear. And the Republican Lieutenant Governor of Texas, Dan Patrick, was on the Ingram angle last night. And he's calling out the Biden administration, as he's been doing for years, and their record on illegal immigration, including this absolutely heart-wrenching part of the problem.
We have about 300,000 children who have come here illegally, and Kamala Harris does not know where they are. And we can tell you where we sadly think many of them are. And that is that they're being forced to have sex 5, 6, 7 times a day as children or teenagers or young women, because they're put into the sex trade industry.
Okay, so this possible border visit comes after recent, not even just, multiple polling. And you know what I think of polling of surveyed voters say that illegal immigration and border security is among the top issues for, frankly, people across the political spectrum.
It is, yes.
Without a doubt. Yep. All right. Also, Kamala Harris calling for an end to the filibuster in the U.S. Senate in order to allow Democrats to pass a law codifying legalized abortion in the country, taking that away from the states.
Democrats have tried and failed in recent years to end the filibuster. Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade in 2022, Democrats, including President Biden, have suggested carving out an exception that would allow abortion protections to be passed without the filibuster. But that strategy could backfire for Harris and her party. Republicans appear poised to reclaim control of the Senate in November, meaning a relaxed filibuster rule would allow them to move their own legislation through the chamber with a simple majority vote. Bob Wagner reporting.
Oh, yeah. Lots of debate on that one.
You know what? If you're like us and you are against killing babies, you better be paying attention.
Yep, without a doubt. I mean, when Dobbs happened, that was constitutionally. Now, by the way, the Constitution does not say that Congress can't address the issue.
Mm-hmm.
It just says they never did.
Mm-hmm.
And so Congress right now, if they want to say we're going to make abortion legal and take it away from the states, well, then be ready to fight if Republicans come and say we're going to outlaw it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that an outlaw of abortion would ever pass in Washington, D.C., but D.C. is so absolutely corrupt that it's possible some version of abortion could pass as well. All right. Former President Trump says he wants to target U.S. companies that export goods to the U.S. from abroad, particularly from Mexico. I did mention this yesterday, but on Monday, he said that he wants to levy a staggering 200% tariff on imports from John Deere if they relocate any of their production to Mexico. Basically, the federal government punishing them for moving out of the U.S. and producing something somewhere else. So essentially, the federal government assuming some of the means of production. Read into that what you want. Extending his sort of protectionist approach, Trump telling his supporters on Tuesday that he wants to institute a 100% tariff on any vehicle produced in Mexico. Mitch McConnell was asked about that.
I'm not a fan of tariffs. They raise the prices for American consumers. I'm more of a free trade kind of Republican that remembers how many jobs are created by the exports that we engage in.
It's just not the federal government's job to micromanage your business. If you want production to stay here, then make the governmental regulatory environment easier and less expensive and less risky to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't sit there and say, we're going to punish you from the government if you make a decision that I don't like. That's just horrible economics and horrible policy. All right. Memorial services for St. Louis police officer David Lee are announced. The visitation will take place at the Friendly Temple Missionary Baptist Church on Martin Luther King Drive on Saturday, October 5th. The visitation from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. The funeral service will start at 1 o'clock right after that. All right. Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre revealing during a congressional hearing that he's been diagnosed with a very surprising and very sad diagnosis. The 54-year-old was testifying before the House Ways and Means Committee about his efforts to get funds for Prevacus, which is a company making concussion drugs, when he revealed the news.
Sadly, I also lost an investment in a company that I believed was developing a breakthrough concussion drug I thought would help others. And I'm sure you'll understand why it's too late for me, because I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
And Favre says he thinks he has probably had, in his words, 1,000 concussions over his 20-year career.
I wouldn't doubt that at all.
Yeah, I mean, he was at the very tail end of when football was really, really hardcore. So he's diagnosed with Parkinson's. He just kind of said it matter-of-factly, and the whole country goes, wait a minute, what? So, yeah, best wishes to Brett Favre.
Oh, Adam, you are so romantic. And I love the kitchen you found with all these great crumbs.
Yeah, baby. Only the finest crumbs in the kitchen for my favorite aunt. Oh, no. It's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They always kill the mood.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. We'd love to help you out. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
My friend, death is certain. Are you prepared?
Larry Connors here. I don't want to scare you, but your funeral plans are an important conversation you need to have with your spouse, family, other loved ones. My friend Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial can help find you an affordable final expense life insurance policy, regardless of your health condition. You could qualify up to $30,000 of lifetime coverage. Life insurance plans with Senior Memorial also offer living benefits towards hearing and diabetic supplies, access to a 24-hour teledoc service, discounts on urns, caskets, tombstones. Call my friend Benjamin at Senior Memorial and discover your legacy at 314-866-8886 or visit memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
News Talk STL invites you to an electrifying evening at Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge for the Vice Presidential Debate Watch Party, Tuesday night. It all kicks off at 4 with Jones and Arps broadcasting live from Johnny's. Then at 7, grab your seat for the main event as the VP candidates debate. Brought to you by Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions and UV Print Shop, Luxury Drivers STL, Freddy's Market in Webster Groves, and St. Louis Pizza and Wings in Afton. Your home for America Decides 2024. News Talk STL.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green.
This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. There are some evacuations. Schools are closing. States of emergency declared as Helene, currently a tropical storm strengthening in the Caribbean Sea, continues moving in the direction of Florida, where Governor Ron DeSantis says could be a major hurricane by the time it makes landfall.
We prepare for the worst. We hope for the best, but we'd rather be prepared and then have it not reach that level than just hope that it doesn't intensify and then be caught not being prepared.
Georgia also getting ready for the storm. Heavy rains forecast for the entire southeast starting today with a life-threatening storm surge along Florida's west coast. As for the actual landfall, looking like that will happen tomorrow along the Big Bend region of Florida, but the impact will be felt hundreds of miles away. The sound of warning sirens filled the air in Tel Aviv, warning of an incoming rocket fired from Lebanon by Hezbollah.
The Israeli military says it intercepted the projectile, which set off air raid sirens in the city and across central Israel, and there are no reports of casualties or damage. The military says it struck the site from which the projectile was launched. Hezbollah says it was aiming at Israel's Mossad intelligence agency, which it blames for the targeted killings of its commanders and for wider attacks. I'm Charles Dulles.
In addition to the Tel Aviv missile, Hezbollah fired hundreds of others in the direction of Israel. Kamala Harris will visit Pittsburgh today, her fourth trip to the western Pennsylvania region since becoming the Democrats' presidential candidate. Republican standard-bearer Donald Trump rallied in Georgia yesterday, elaborating on his plans for getting the economy back on track. Among other things, says he'd like to drop the corporate tax rate to 15%. On Wall Street this morning, stock futures have been mixed. Right now, the Dow futures down 2 points. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
Hear that? The sound of your antique fountain pen gliding across linen paper as you journal in the park. And if you were here, you'd be inspired by the warm breeze. But you're not here. Because your self-care happens out on the road, riding your motorcycle protected by Progressive. And the wind in your face on the road is all the inspiration you need. So if you ride, get a quote and see if you could save with Progressive, America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Now that's inspiring. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates not available.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. After days of much needed rainfall, we're going to start to dry things out this afternoon. Temperatures nearing 75 degrees, a lot more sun as those clouds begin to break later. There is only a 10% chance for an isolated shower, but most of us are going to be dry. Now, this dry stretch does not last too long. Well, I expect Thursday to primarily have dry conditions. Rain develops over the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. With the average funeral bill being over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Call 314-866-8886 or memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Not all policies will qualify. Not available in all states.
Do you have over $10,000 in credit card debt? If you're feeling the financial impact with unprecedented economic challenges, DebtBlue is here for you. With DebtBlue's Success Guarantee, you pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved.
I'm just living sky high right now. I'm very thankful for it. And the team at DebtBlue are phenomenal. They're able to work with you. They're great.
Call for your free debt resolution information now. 800-200-6895. 800-200-6895.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk.
What citizen wouldn't want to make America great again?
Live and local.
You lose, you Dixon Notch. Yeah. You lost America. I saw it etched on coins up here.
This is News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson.
It's a miracle we're not in prison.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
Are you kidding me?
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
Yeah, it's kind of a thing.
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
Good morning to the people of St. Louis.
So the school year just began, and one of the big school districts in the area already hands the boss a pink slip.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
And it was a 6-0 vote.
Yeah, sure was.
School board there's no question they want this superintendent out.
Yeah, she's been missing class for a couple of months.
Well, she was put on leave in July, I think it was?
July.
Because they went from having a surplus to all of a sudden, hey, where's all the money? We're in a massive deficit. Wait a minute. What do you mean we don't have buses to pick up the kids?
Yeah.
And so I'll give you the details on that here in just a minute. By the way, Missouri completes what is, I think, likely what is definitely its most controversial execution to date. Let's talk about that at 6:20.
Okay.
I am not one of those who has specialized in reporting on court cases. So I know what you know from all the media and from the activists and everything, both sides. But this has got people fired up and emotional on both sides of the issue. So I'll just tell you right now, 6:20. What are your thoughts on Marcellus Williams' execution? Or I guess he went by Kafia, I think it was his Muslim name. I think.
He's one of the the prison Muslims.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he was executed last night. And a lot of people are arguing that he was full on innocent, didn't do it.
Set up, baby.
So it's usually there are, well, he did it, but he doesn't deserve the death penalty.
Oh,
so there's a lot of those that we see in the news. This wasn't one of those.
Okay.
This was, he didn't do it. You've got the wrong guy. You're putting to death a completely innocent man.
Right.
And then over 20 years, those claims have been investigated. And who people are not talking about is the actual victim of the murder back in 1998.
Right.
So let's do that around 6:20. I don't do those topics very often on here.
Well, no, we tend not to, chase the police cars and the ambulances in that same way.
But not only is the entire region talking about this, to some degree, the entire country is talking about this.
Yeah, they absolutely are.
So you get to have your say on it as well. Even my daughter, who's not a political or policy person, texted me yesterday. She's like, "What do you think about this?" And she had an interesting reason for doing that, which I'll tell you about in just a little bit. It is 6:07. Nope, hold on. It is 6:08. I want to be up to date and accurate.
Let's check traffic.
That's right.
Oh gosh.
It's funny. One of my first radio jobs, this is how long I've been in the business, was a traffic reporter.
Like traffic and weather together. Let's check traffic first. Here's Mike Ferguson up in the copter.
That's it's funny because I wasn't the guy in the copter, but I knew people who did that. We had the sound effect.
They really did that.
we had these machines. You won't remember them. You will definitely know them. Called carts. This little box, and it looked like an 8-track cassette, and it was just a little cart. And I actually knew somebody that had a sound
that had the helicopter sound effect for the background noise.
I don't even know if the company is around, but I used to work for a company called Metro Traffic. And then they became Metro Networks, and I became one of their regional news anchors. So I did traffic, and then I did the news as well. And I was the news anchor for like 12 or 15 radio stations at one point. It was funny because now I don't know if anybody does traffic reports, because you look at your phone, it tells you if there's a traffic backup somewhere.
It's pretty rare.
Yeah.
Couple of our sister stations where we used to work.
Yeah.
They still do it on the FM side.
You know what's funny is
on the AM side does too.
Yeah,
now
the
that
AM
I think
does.
of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know it's funny is let me give you a little dirty little secret. Those reports that you're hearing on traffic reports, they are nowhere near up to the minute. I don't know that any of those are live.
Well, they couldn't be.
No, I mean, because what would happen is I would go in, and the most important thing is you have a sponsor at the beginning, a sponsor at the end. You have the advertising, and that's really what those are for, because it's information. But then you record it, then you put it into an automation system. You have a deadline to get it into the automation system, and then it just plays when it plays.
But that might have been what you were dealing with, because to be honest with you, the two FMs and the AM where we used to work, those were live.
They were live.
Oh
really?
yeah, Sue Thomas would do hers
no
live.
Kidding.
And
Okay.
Roger Brand on the AM side would do
No
his
kidding.
live.
So that's.
But you're right. There
that's
are the
good.
markets where
But
they.
yeah, because I don't know that I ever did a live traffic report. I put it in, and there were times that I found out later that it aired like 15 or 20 minutes later.
Oh man.
Okay, I was at one group, not here in St. Louis, and this was a long time ago. We had a guy who did the overnight. He was the overnight classic rock guy. But he had snorted and drank away all of his money, so he had to do double time as a traffic reporter in the morning.
So he would stick around and do traffic for morning drive?
He would record his first one the day before.
Oh my gosh.
So the first one, which airs, at right around 5 o'clock in the morning or something, he just assumed nothing was happening, and he would record it and go home.
Oh man. Goodness.
But there were a few times, because I did the news early in the morning, and so I would get his first round, and there were times I'd get in and there was something horrible happening, and then Chuck Nasty would come on, which was his name, his radio name, and then he would come on and he would be like, Chuck Nasty. He was like apparently like huge in LA at one point, and let's just say personal life choices changed the trajectory of his career.
You mean a guy who went by Chuck Nasty who had some personal problems there? Oh man.
But he was so much fun. He was so much fun to be around.
Getting nasty in the morning.
That's right. Well, late night with him. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I think he was a morning guy in LA. But it was funny because I'd be sitting there and I'm doing a news report on some horrible pileup and chemical spill because the 18-wheeler overturned. All right, we got traffic, and he used a different name on that station. And he's like, well, everything's smooth sailing, 291 going through. And I'm like, oh my goodness.
And today would have been a good example, because I think there was an overturned tractor trailer or something happened on the Poplar Street Bridge access ramp. So this would be a situation where you wouldn't want somebody saying, oh yeah, everything looks good. And meanwhile, you got an entrance ramp that's blocked.
It's one of those things where it's like 95% of the time you're safe.
Yeah.
And then the other 5%, you make it clear to remind everybody that this is not live in any way, shape, or form. All right, let's see here. Real quick note: the U.S. House expected to vote on the continuing resolution to keep the government funded today. We're going to talk about 7:05 or so. We got Rick Manning from Americans for Limited Government to give us the update on that from Washington, D.C. Here's the interesting thing: is there's no guarantee this is going to pass today.
Really?
So there are enough Republicans that are irritated right now that this may or may not pass. Mike Johnson is now trying to work with Democrats to shore up to make sure he's got the votes to pass the bill that he gave in on.
I was going to say, like, isn't this the compromise bill?
Yeah.
Wow.
And so let's do that around 7:05. All right. The St. Louis Board of Education, meaning in the city, They voted 6-0 to fire Superintendent Dr. Keisha Scarlett.
She's out of here
last night. Well, I mean, she has the legal right to appeal and fight it.
Okay.
So if she does that, then she's going to remain on paid leave. If she accepts it, then whatever the terms of the termination are, will go into effect. So Monday they had a special closed session. They voted to notify her that they intend to fire her, and then last night they voted to fire her.
Okay.
I guess that's a procedural hoop you have to go through for these things here. So she was placed on temporary leave of absence in late July. That's after the board hired basically a firm to come in and audit the finances because they were like, where's the money? We had all this money. Where did Joe, where'd you put the money?
It's like, I'm looking for
right
it
here.
I left it right here.
Right. And so we don't know whether or not Keisha Scarlett's gonna contest her firing, but if she does, then there'll be hearings and maybe a trial and all that sort of thing. But in the meantime, the current acting superintendent or interim superintendent is Dr. Millicent Borishade. And I don't even know if Millicent Borishade is a male's name or a female's name.
Yes,
I have no idea.
Well, I think Millicent is typically female.
Woman. Yeah.
Typically a
I don't
female
know.
name,
That'd be my
but
guess.
Let's just say Dr. Borishade.
there you go.
Let's do that.
That
so
works.
Dr. Borishade will be the interim superintendent through this school year.
Okay.
So at least there's that stability that somebody's in charge at least through the school year.
There's somebody to yell at when something goes wrong.
Right.
That's what being in charge is.
Right. And then the board has made it clear if the state approves, because I guess there's some certification things, that they plan to make Dr. Borishade the permanent superintendent after this. So they have a contingency plan. They have a transition plan. It all just depends on what happens with Dr. Keisha Scarlett. And there was a bunch of nonsense that was happening over the past couple of months. Because remember, she tried to bring on like a public relations communications person from Texas and paying her all kinds of crazy money.
Oh, yeah.
And it was technically a part-time job and they were going to work remote. And that didn't last very long because media got a hold of it. And then all of a sudden parents like, wait a minute, you can't afford buses, but this person gets a part-time remote gig for 6 figures.
But Mike, we have folks telling us that the public school system is so great. That is awesome. We had a gentleman sitting here the other day who told us how great the public school systems are.
Look at all the great things it's done.
Yeah.
They just need more money.
Prior to the existence of the board of the Department of Education, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I
forgot to mention, like you're referencing things that all happened prior to the existence of the
that's right. That's a good point because
1976, by the way.
Was it that? I thought it was 70.
Yeah.
It was in the late 70s.
Late 70s.
Jimmy Carter days.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter days. We did not have a U.S. Department of Education before Jimmy Carter. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah.
It's like, this is our No. Things went better. Now, I will say this for Dan...
Dave.
Dan Schaefer.
Dan
who was
Schaefer.
in here the other day.
Right.
George, as he's known.
Apparently Chris and George. I want to give her. I got a very, very kind follow-up email from him.
Yeah.
Very nice email from him saying, hey, we don't agree on anything, but I really appreciate you're having a civil conversation with somebody who completely disagrees with you.
And he's a really affable guy, to be fair.
Nice, a nice guy.
Yeah.
Now, is he in step and in touch with the people of 97th District? Nope. By the way, his opponent, Representative Castile, is going to be with us probably next week on the show as well. So we'll get the other candidate in that race. All right. Marcellus Williams put to death by the state yesterday. Is that justice? That's what it's got the region, got the country talking. We'll do our conversation on it at 6:20.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin.
Attention food lovers. Craving authentic kosher cuisine? Head to Nate's Kosher Deli in the heart of Creve Coeur's culinary scene. Formerly Cones, Nate's is now under new ownership, offering an even greater selection of kosher items, from mouth-watering sandwiches to gourmet meats and fresh baked goods. There's something for everyone. Call 314-333-6283 or visit NatesKosherDeli.com. Experience the difference at Nate's Kosher Deli today. And don't forget to mention News Talk STL sent you.
Looking for a top-quality tactical gear and expert advice? Look no further than Discount Tactical, your one-stop shop for all things firearms and self-defense. Located in the heart of Warrenton, we've been serving the community for 3 years with our friendly, professional, and knowledgeable staff. From custom AR builds and silencers to the largest selection of parts, we've got you covered. Self-defense weapons, SBRs, knives, ammo, custom holsters, weapon lights, optics, and body armor. Discount Tactical. Online at DiscountTacticalArmory.com or stop by today and gear up with confidence.
Attention thrill seekers and fun lovers. Did you know the Midwest's largest wooden roller rink is right here in Missouri? Welcome to Piccadilly Palace, your ultimate family entertainment destination. Glide across our massive skating floor, conquer arcade challenges, put your way through mini golf, and dive into cutting-edge virtual reality experiences. And coming soon, a relaxing bar and grill patio, state-of-the-art golf simulators, and heart-pounding two-story go-kart racing next to East Central College in Union, Missouri. Plan your visit now at PiccadillyPalace.com. That's PiccadillyPalace.com.
Hi, I'm Officer John Van Gordon, recruiter with the Springfield Police Department. We are currently looking for driven, qualified, and team-oriented citizens to become the next generation of community-minded servants here in Springfield. Our salaries and benefits are paid from day one. Plus, right now, new recruits are eligible to receive a $5,000 hiring incentive, and experienced officers looking to transfer are eligible for $10,000. To learn more, visit GoSPD.com. That's GoSPD.com.
Brought to you by the Springfield, Missouri Police Department.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at Stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, this is Kira Davis, and you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Little trivia question.
Okay.
Trivia answer for you here, Stel. As it turns out, just in the random rotation of bump music, this was the first bump music ever played on Mike Ferguson in the Morning.
Oh, really?
So the first bump music ever played on local programming here on News Talk STL it just happened to be this song. I just kind of took note of it at the time, 3.5 years ago, something like that.
Appropriately named Hysteria.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, if we had any idea what was coming our way in the next few years. All right, 621. Marcellus Williams is dead. Should he be? That's the question. 314-912-1019. Also, we know our phones track us. Do our cars also track us? Find out who's asking that question at 6:35. Okay, I found this online, and it's from Reason Magazine. I'll tell you that. All right, Marcellus Williams executed last night. The Supreme Court does not intervene. The execution of Marcellus Williams takes place in Bonne Terre yesterday, a little after 6 o'clock or so. Here's just kind of my angle on all this. Is that all the years I did news, all the years I did anchoring, there are news people who specialize in certain things. Some do politics, some do sports, some do what's called spot news, meaning you chase the flashing lights. Others are court reporters. I was never a court reporter. This was never my specialty. If there are big cases, you put it in the news, but you just kind of gloss over the headlines. There's so much more than just the headlines on this particular case. But here's what's interesting is a lot of times when you've got a death penalty case, you always have a protest element because there are people who oppose the death penalty. They don't think the state should be killing somebody regardless of what that person did. Okay, I think that's a fair policy debate. Is one of those few things I truly see both sides of the argument. I mean, I really do. And I think it's one of those few policy things where both sides argue in true good faith.
And they have a point.
Yes. And it's also one of those areas where both the left and the right can cross over on both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
As well. I mean, it's not unusual to hear conservatives argue for an end to the death penalty.
Yeah, particularly those of a more libertarian bent, right?
Right.
Where trust from the government is a little lower.
Precisely. But you're seeing that with more traditional conservatives as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Who are
Right
just
now,
saying this government's out of control, especially as the idea of deep state and all this sorts of things,
weaponized justice system.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
You're starting to see more people question this.
Mhm.
That's not what I'm necessarily talking about here, because you always have that debate.
Yeah.
You could have somebody who is convicted and admits to and laughs at and celebrates the most heinous crimes ever, and there would still be people say, but we shouldn't have a death penalty, even for that person. Okay, that's not the case here.
Right.
So Marcellus Williams, convicted in the 1998 murder of a St. Louis Post-Dispatch editor and reporter. 1998, Leisha Gale. And her name is almost nowhere in this news coverage because it's all about Marcellus Williams. But she was murdered, stabbed over 40 times in her home in U City in what was apparently a burglary. But here's the thing, is that the argument isn't, yeah, he did it, but this isn't justice, or yeah, he did it, but this isn't the role of government. The argument is he didn't do it.
Right.
That's what they're arguing.
And that's where there's I think
Right.
the maximum crossover between left and right.
Right.
Opposition.
Some morning when we have Susie Moore on,
yeah,
we should ask her what she may be able to give us some feedback on regarding Northwestern University and lawyers from Northwestern who have fought against the death penalty in Illinois.
Is that where the Innocence Project is based out
That
of?
might be.
Yeah,
that might be.
Because we do know that there have been over 100 cases where death row inmates have been exonerated.
Yeah, posthumously.
Yeah, sometimes posthumously, sometimes actually, though, before they were executed.
Yeah, luckily for those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, so there have been times where people who are not guilty have been on death row.
Right.
I do not know firsthand. I have not studied this case to know if I believe one way or the other that Marcellus Williams is the murderer.
Right. That's 20 years of litigation to go
Right.
for you. I don't think we're built for that sort of investigation.
Well, and that's the thing is, remember, his execution was stayed years and years ago during the Greitens administration, and he appointed a special panel to investigate all of the claims of prosecutorial mistakes, prosecutorial misconduct. Wesley Bell was not the prosecutor at the time, but his office said, we've reviewed it and we don't think he should be put to death. They asked for it to be stopped. The Missouri Supreme Court, the governor, they all said, nope, this has been investigated. There was nothing to show that the conviction was improper.
Yeah.
So that's the argument. That's the debate.
Yeah, and that appointed board was in existence until 2020 something. Yeah, I saw a little graphic about the whole thing, but yeah, it was in existence at least for a decade, essentially.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the investigations and appeals happened over 20 years.
Right.
I mean, literally over 20 years.
It was a 1998 murder.
Right.
Think about it.
Yeah, and so and of course, he's obviously in the media being painted as a very sympathetic figure. I don't know. His last words were, "Praise be to Allah in all things," or something like that. He, I guess, was a prison inman. That's neither here nor there. Either he was guilty or he was not guilty, and then either this was justice or there was not justice. See, it was interesting because my daughter texted me yesterday, and my daughter, who is 26 going on 27, she is not a political person. She's not a policy person. That's just not her thing. But she texts me out of nowhere and says, "Hey, what do you think of this Marcellus Williams thing?" And I told her, I said, I have not covered this case closely. I have not followed it that closely. I know there's a lot of people who are questioning whether or not he's guilty, but keep in mind, every time you're trying to save somebody from the death penalty, you throw anything and everything you possibly can. You want to create as much doubt as possible to make some judge or some court somewhere go, well, if there's a question, let's wait.
Right.
I mean, that's just what you do. You're trying to save somebody's life in the judicial system. That's what a defense attorney does. At the very end, they were even trying to say, well, they didn't allow a black man onto the jury, so therefore,
right.
And they're throwing everything they possibly can at this. And I just told her, I said, I have not followed this case as closely as, people think probably I should have. I said, I know there's a lot of question over the debate over the death penalty. They're arguing whether it's innocent. I just don't know. But I do know that this has been investigated for over 20 years. I don't know that they've missed anything at this point. It's just whether or not they think the process worked or not. And she told me that not at the current job she's got, but a job she used to have managing a lounge and managing a bar and restaurant. One of her security guards was his son.
Mm-hmm.
So she worked with his son briefly.
Yeah. And he was just on the news recently.
Assuming that was the same son.
I believe so.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was Junior.
Junior. Yeah. It was
yes.
Junior.
Yeah.
They were a real big guy, so it may have been.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, assuming that's the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is on this one, whether you're conservative or whether you're on the left or somewhere in the middle, doesn't necessarily dictate what you think of the death penalty.
Right. That's true.
And in this particular case, the questions really came up as to whether or not the system worked.
Right.
I believe that the death penalty is a just punishment for the worst possible crimes that we've got.
It's valid.
It's valid.
Right.
At the same time, I am growing increasingly skeptical of any government to have that sort of power.
Mm-hmm.
So I would not necessarily be someone who would say, let's abolish it. But I would not have my feelings hurt if suddenly we said, you know what, we're not going to use it for a while until we know we have a system that we can trust and believe in. Because with the Innocence Project and over 100 people exonerated, like you said, sometimes posthumously, sometimes before they got the needle, that tells me that convicting somebody beyond proof of a reasonable doubt is the standard we've set in this country. And that's fine. When it comes to capital punishment, it should be proof beyond any doubt whatsoever.
Yes.
Because you can, while it's not justice to let an innocent man go after 10 years, because then you owe them for 10 years. In this case, you don't get to come back on it.
Right.
Now, if he murdered a woman, stabbing her 43 times while trying to burglarize her, then that was justice.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there are plenty of cases where it's pretty clear. It's like, oh, this is a monster that needs to be removed from society. And it's like, okay, I have no qualms about the government having the power to remove that said person from society.
John Wayne Gacy.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I have my doubts as to the efficacy of the system. If you can throw 100 guys out there that oh yeah, by the way, oopsie, we killed an innocent man. That is a horrific idea to me that the government could do that.
The more I see the way things are going, the less I trust government on anything.
Yes.
Especially on something like this. Agree, disagree? Let's talk about it. 314-912-1019. Just ahead here, we know your phone's listening to you. Is your car tracking and tattling on you?
Oh.
Yeah. This is interesting. Let's talk about that at 6:34.
Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning. Silly Show.
Project 21's Donna Jackson testified in front of a House committee on energy, and she'll tell us how that went Tuesday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. After days of much needed rainfall, we're going to start to dry things out this afternoon. Temperatures nearing 75 degrees, a lot more sun as those clouds begin to break later. There is only a 10% chance for an isolated shower, but most of us are going to be dry. Now, this dry stretch does not last too long. Well, I expect Thursday to primarily have dry conditions. Rain develops over the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Attention off-road enthusiasts. Iron Bear Customs has the strongest bumpers on the planet. Plus, brush guards, lift kits, and custom cages for all vehicles. Visit ironbearcustoms.com and mention Newstalk STL for 10% off. Iron Bear Customs, built tough for the toughest terrain.
Discover Patriot Powder Coating, your family-owned specialist in Pacific. From small jobs to big projects, we got you covered. Visit our showroom or patriotpowder.com. Mention Newstalk STL for 10% off Patriot Powder Coating. Local experts, unbeatable quality.
Hello, this is Eric from Newstetter's Fine Jewelry. If you are looking for a local family-owned jewelry store, come in and meet the Newstetter's Fine Jewelry family, a St. Louis tradition for over 60 years. Let us introduce you to unique and one-of-a-kind pieces. While here, we'd be happy to examine and professionally clean your jewelry at no charge. If it does need some maintenance, we can give you an estimate right then, and all of our repairs are done on site. Visit us at wilddiamonds.com.
Join us for our Get in the Seat event September 25th through the 28th at all Missouri and Illinois Seidenstricker Nobi locations. Take advantage of 0% financing for 84 months with no money down on John Deere compact tractors. And discover more event-only specials these 4 days in-store or online. Every tractor comes with our S&P 10-year guarantee. Visit snpartners.com for more details.
Offer valid through 9/28/2024. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details.
Looking to enhance your outdoor space? Trust Limay Concrete Block, your local experts since 1947. From Vertiblock and retaining walls to ready-mix concrete and outdoor kits, we've got all your residential and commercial needs covered. As a family-owned business, we take pride in our A+ BBB rating and industry affiliations, with special discounts for military and first responders. Whether you're a homeowner, contractor, or distributor, make a decision set in stone. Call 314-638-9940 or visit our showroom today.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows. Mike Ferguson in the Morning, The Vic Porcelli Show, Colombo and Company, Jones and Arps. Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble. Subscribe and watch News Talk STL.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
We're not gonna be just a part of their game.
All right, Stan Willis is talking about Marcellus Williams' execution
Yeah.
last night.
Mhm.
We got a lot of people have some thoughts on this. We'll go to your
Yeah,
calls
stay
here
on the line,
in just
folks.
a moment. Hang on there. And 314-912-1019. I am still going to get to this. Is your car listening to you thing? But,
yeah.
You know, people have a lot to say here, so I want to hear what you have to say about it. So if you're just joining us, Marcellus Williams executed last night in Bonne Terre.
Mhm.
I don't remember what number of execution this is for this year. Missouri executes generally more than most of the states. 20 some years of investigations and hearings and appeals and all of that. And the argument is that he didn't do it.
Right.
Now,
Yes.
the secondary argument is, even if he did, should we be using the death penalty on this? And I think that this is one of the few nuanced areas that that we can say we've got questions on this. Let's start with Scott here. Hey, Scott, you're on News Talk STL. What's your take?
Hey, good morning, gentlemen. It may sound oxymoronic, but I think for a civilization and a civilized society, we need the death penalty to keep law and order. I would keep it absolutely for anyone who kills anyone in law enforcement. But watching how the political landscape has changed over the past 10 years, the involvement of the alphabet government and going after people, I am now opposed basically to it, because it can be weaponized and somebody could be put to death as a political opponent. I don't think we're far from that in this country.
First of all, I don't think that's oxymoronic. I think you actually followed a very clear pattern of logic there, Scott. I don't see anything oxymoronic about your place. So it sounds like you're like me. Like you've probably got a little bit of conflict on it. We recognize that it can be justice, but it can only be used by government entity, and that's where my trust is. What little trust I had is waning to start with.
Yeah, you need moral and honorable people, neither of which applies to a lot of these prosecutors. If there's a whiff of prosecutorial misconduct, it should be taken off the table. If you are looking to take someone's life, there can't be any games played with evidence, and it's done all the time.
Well,
yeah, I think you pretty much hold the same position that I do, where because of my waning trust for government entities, particularly prosecutor offices and things like that, and apparently how easily they can be manipulated. I'm all for changing the system before we jump in and start put needles in people's arms again.
Yeah. Hey, Scott, appreciate you.
You've got the
good.
Great day, gentlemen. Stay safe.
Absolutely. Thank
Appreciate
you.
that, Scott. Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, I don't think, because he sounded, being conflicted is not the same thing as oxymoronic or flip-flopping. I don't think he was flip-flopping when he says, I'm now, I think it should be there. I don't think we should abolish the death penalty. Take it off the books, pass the constitutional amendment. Got some thoughts on this, by the way, 314-912-1019. I don't think we should take it off the books. Like Scott was saying, and I agree, is that for the most heinous of crimes, and he said reserved only for killing law enforcement. I would not put the life of law enforcement over the lives of those law enforcement protects.
Right.
But we mentioned, for instance, a John Wayne Gacy situation.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned the serial murder situations. So in those particular cases, I think also the threat of a death penalty is also something that can be used. But when Scott started off by saying in a civil society or civilized society, I think is what he said, there is a place for it. Especially if you want to have a law and order society. That actually makes sense. That is not oxymoronic at all.
Absolutely. And I'm all for the death penalty as a concept. Basically, we could start there. The death penalty as a concept is not something that I bat an eye at.
I don't either.
It makes sense as justice for the most heinous crimes in the country, right? But at the same time, I think it needs to be adjudicated properly.
Right.
And so you mentioned the standard for convicting somebody, or that opens them up to a death penalty, and that is right now it's beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
And I do agree with increasing the standard, basically making it more difficult, making a higher threshold of jurisprudence, I guess, necessary to get there. Beyond all doubt.
Mm-hmm.
That would I think change the way a lot of the evidence is looked at and things like that. Because the thing is, look, if some guy randomly shoots somebody in the face, it's on video. There are 3 people who witnessed it, and
had that
and then he
St.
bragged
Louis,
about it later.
Remember about a year and a half downtown ago, there was a guy who
walked up to a homeless guy or something.
Yeah, it was one homeless guy walked up to another behind him, just capped him in the back of the head.
Yeah,
somebody happened to be rolling video because he's like, "Ooh, there's going to be a fight," and the guy pulls out a handgun. And there's video of him, and it's like disturbing, keep you up at night a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That happened in downtown St. Louis not even 2 years ago.
That's right.
The guy was sitting on the curb.
That's the one.
I remember seeing that video.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's one of those cases where it's like not only death penalty but express lane. Is like, okay, there's if it's beyond all reasonable doubt, then or any doubt whatsoever, there are people who watched you do it. It's on video, completely non-doctored, right? It's like, well, just put him to death and get him out of society.
Well, and with the death penalty, in theory, it is okay. This is premeditated.
Mm-hmm.
You had plenty of opportunity to change your mind.
Sure,
you were aware of what you were doing. Was murderous and wrong, and there you still chose to do it.
Yeah.
In this case right here. So, essentially Missouri ends up being talked about more so than other states because we are less bashful about using the death penalty.
And I'm okay with that in principle.
Right.
In principle, because I guess I have that weird, again, the sort of the tension of my lack of trust for government, but my belief that the death penalty can be a method of justice.
So the problem isn't necessarily that the death penalty exists as a concept. The problem is that we have every reason to not trust our government.
Yes.
The way that we should be able to trust our government. We should, in a Western, Western republic, in a Western constitutional republic, we should be able to trust our government that it will, at the very least, be working towards the end of justice.
Yes.
When I mean that, I mean justice as an end, the justice, capital J, however you want to say it there, as a noun. And the reality is that right now I don't think we should, I don't think we can trust most government with that task of justice. Now, does that mean I think every prosecutor is bad? No, I think prosecutors out there and prosecutors make deals more than they take things to trial. They would rather things not go to trial.
Yeah.
I've known many prosecutors over the years, back when I was a news reporter, and the majority of them that I worked with, the majority of them that I met, the majority of them I went and had a lunch with, and all of these people, most of the time, if they see that there's a glaring error and this person didn't do it, or there's some circumstance where it's like, this really isn't a monster, most of the time, of course, we're dealing with lower level crimes. They would really rather do some diversion thing.
Now, of course, to the caller's point, though, before, we've seen a new breed of prosecutors come through who are very willing to bend and frankly break the system if need be in order to get an outcome that is politically advantageous or ideologically advantageous to them.
Yeah.
So I would not trust that sort of prosecutor's office. I mean, imagine our former prosoprosecutor on a case that involved a political enemy,
Kimberly Gardner,
right? Let's say that somehow she was able to pin a murder on a political adversary. Right. Oh gosh, she's going after that. Right. And who knows what prosecutorial misconduct would be involved in it, right? Yeah. So gosh, I couldn't imagine that sort of system playing out that way.
So we have a systemic problem.
Yeah.
Whether or not Marcellus Williams' execution was justice at this point, basically God only knows.
Yeah. Yeah.
At this point, or, maybe there are people who just know far more about it than I do, who were part of the appeals, part of the investigation, part of the commission, the special commission put together to look at it. They have a better handle on it than I do. But as a concept, the idea that there are so many people who say, we don't even know if this guy was guilty.
Yeah.
Does mean we need to at least talk about the penalty itself. Maybe he was. And if he was, well, then he got justice.
Now, conceivably, the people, the jury is also a check on the government, right?
Theory, yes.
In theory, right? But the problem is when the government essentially controls the information that the jury gets. Barring a defense, a vigorous defense and all that stuff. But
I will say in the U.S., our Western system does favor the defense.
It's the best version of
it. And I'm good with that.
Yeah.
I think it should be really, really hard to convict somebody. And even I would say that, and now the exception is if you've got a public defender, you're probably screwed.
Yes, that's true.
And it's not because the public defenders are bad lawyers. It's because literally they have 300 cases at a time, at least in Missouri, and they oftentimes don't even see the case file until they walk into the courtroom.
Yeah.
The system is stacked against you if you're ending up in a public defender situation.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yeah. All right, stump some news on you here. Got some thoughts on it. Send me notes on social media. I think we'll give people a chance to sound off on this again a little bit later on this morning as well. Right here, 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
We're not gonna be just a part of the game. We're not gonna be just the victims.
Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I've got no place to go. I've got nowhere to
The Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
I'm so tired of my water smelling like rotten eggs. Iron foul. It makes my clothes and home smell, and my sink and faucet look dirty. I'm calling Jones Air and Water Treatment for their solution to this pollution.
Jones Air and Water Treatment has a solution to your pollution. Call now for your free water analysis at 636-899-1040 and live with clean, great-tasting water. That's 636-899-1040 or joneswater.com on the web. Call us now.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing, you can count on Connor.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Kirkwood Popco. Family owned and popping up smiles in the heart of Kirkwood. From party favors to teacher gifts, Kirkwood Popco has you covered. Tins, bags, even popcorn bars. They've got it all. Find them at 108 North Kirkwood Road and kirkwoodpopco.com.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Hi, it's Randy Tobler here. Pour a big cup of coffee and catch my show every Saturday morning from 6 to 9. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson in the Morning here on News Talk STL.
All right, we've got some more comments on the execution of Marcellus Williams and the entire debate about that. We'll get to in just a second. Also, Kamala Harris apparently willing to change how the United States Senate operates and functions in order to make sure abortion happens throughout the nation. And a Hall of Famer announces that he's got a very sad medical condition, and that kind of caught people by surprise. Let's go ahead and dump some news on you here.
Successful dump. Wake up, America. It all worked out. They got all the news. The morning news dump.
Another execution takes place in Bonne Terre. 55-year-old Marcellus Williams died by lethal injection on Tuesday. He was convicted of a really brutal murder of Lisha Gay in 1998. Lisha Gay was stabbed over 40 times in a University City home during a burglary. Williams and his supporters argued that he was innocent, wrongfully convicted. County Prosecutor Wesley Bell was among those who asked for the execution to be stopped. The case was heard and appealed and investigated for over 20 years.
Yep.
And we brought up the question over to be convicted of a crime, to be convicted of assault and battery, you got to be, or car theft or shoplifting, you have to be shown guilty, proof beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
You and I are arguing, okay, if it's capital punishment, then it should be proof beyond any doubt.
Right. Now, Corporeal Being here on Rumble says, well, it's possible to doubt anything, even your own existence. Getting a little philosophical with us there, buddy.
Yeah.
That's why the phrase reasonable doubt is used. You can't beyond all doubt, especially if you allow for unreasonable doubts.
Okay.
Like, he looks like a nice guy, so maybe he does.
Yeah.
He's a family man. He wouldn't do that.
Right.
Like that's an
fair.
That's an unreasonable doubt.
Yeah.
But the law, the way the jury system works, people are allowed to have unreasonable doubts.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I mean, for instance, at one point they were arguing, well, the prosecution didn't let a black man on the jury. Therefore,
right.
Well, at the end, before you get too mad at their lawyers, and is that silly? Yeah, it may have been silly, but they are throwing anything and everything they can as the clock is ticking.
Yeah,
so,
a vigorous defense is a right
and
within our system.
Yeah, even a lot of times they will even be intellectually dishonest.
Yes,
if they can.
Yeah.
I don't think that's ethical, but that's the way it happens, because they can always try to answer, for something that's dishonest or unethical later, but that's what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Vice President Kamala Harris reportedly planning a trip. Guess where? The southern border.
Really?
Yeah.
Like actually?
Well, not on the border, the restaurant. I'm talking about the actual.
Oh,
southern
okay.
And because
the former would make more sense than the latter, actually.
Yeah.
Jeez, what?
Honestly, I wouldn't
Why
mind
would she?
going on the border after this. I'm hungry.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. That makes more sense. Why would she actually go to the border to highlight the fact that she's horrible on the border?
Because she is getting hit hard on the immigration issue.
Okay, so
under
it's
no circumstances does she win on this issue with any voting group.
so she's under duress to try and do something.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick from Texas was on the Ingram angle last night, calling out on Fox, obviously, calling out the Biden-Harris administration, saying that it's not even just about the numbers, it's about something even worse.
We have about 300,000 children who have come here illegally, and Kamala Harris does not know where they are. And we can tell you where we sadly think many of them are. And that is that they're being forced to have sex 5, 6, 7 times a day as children or teenagers or young women because they're put into the sex trade industry.
And of course, this is one issue where the Democrats just across the board with independents and obviously with conservatives, not the and even some liberals, they just lose on the illegal immigration issue. So the more important illegal immigration is to the voter, the harder it's going to be for Kamala Harris to win that vote.
Yeah. Well, and I honestly hope that it continues, that she continues to highlight the fact that she's horrible on the border by doing everything that she's currently doing.
Well, we're 41 days away from Election Day, and I think it's going to be CYA every day until November 5th.
What's a win for her if she goes to the border? I mean, I don't know how this looks good for her. So I'm a little surprised to hear reports that she is going to the border, but we'll see.
So weird.
What
I don't
happens with
I don't
it.
get it.
All right. Speaking of the vice president, Kamala Harris calling for an end to the filibuster in the Senate.
Oh.
And she says specifically this is to allow Democrats to pass a law basically codifying Roe versus Wade and making sure that no pro-life laws could stand in the country.
Democrats have tried and failed in recent years to end the filibuster. Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe versus Wade in 2022, Democrats, including President Biden, have suggested carving out an exception that would allow abortion protections to be passed without the filibuster. But that strategy could backfire for Harris and her party. Republicans appear poised to reclaim control of the Senate in November, meaning a relaxed filibuster rule would allow them to move their own legislation through the chamber with a simple majority vote. Bob Agnew reporting.
Okay, so when you're the party in the majority, you hate the filibuster. When you're the party in the minority in the Senate, you love the filibuster.
Yeah.
So throwing it out because this ideologue-based issue is something you want to see put into place across the country, it shows very bad faith in what you want to do with your office.
Absolutely. Well, or it also shows maybe a reliance on the fact that they feel successful in having indoctrinated the majority of the country.
Yeah.
And they think they might be in quote unquote in power for years and years and years to come.
Yep. All right. Okay. Donald Trump announced plans to target companies that export goods into the U.S. or import goods to the U.S. from abroad, particularly from Mexico. This was on Monday, and I actually didn't say anything about this because, people know what I think of tariffs and they get mad at me for critiquing Trump, but, here it is anyway. So on Monday, he declared his intent to levy a staggering 200% tariff on imports from John Deere if they decide to relocate any of their production to Mexico.
Just on John Deere in particular?
Just on John Deere. Yeah, just on John Deere.
Oh, my gosh.
Now, extending his protectionist approach, Trump also told his supporters he wants to put a 100% tariff on any vehicles produced in Mexico. So basically, he wants to tell the private companies, you're not allowed to make a business decision instead of saying, well, let's get rid of the regulatory burdens, all this. So essentially what you've got here is an argument to have the government at least influence, if not control, the means of production.
Yeah. I really don't like tariffs. I don't like the sort of the types of picking winners and losers that Republicans favor these days. I'd rather just lean into some of the other policies like reducing corporate tax rates and things like that. Like if you want to repatriate American manufacturing, that's one of the ways I think would be the best ways to do that. But all this other sort of protectionist stuff, it usually ends up biting you right back. The consumer ends up paying for it.
And this is horrible economic policy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just beyond horrible. It's just unbelievably destructive. All right. Pro Football Hall of Fame quarterback Brett Favre kind of caught people off guard during a congressional hearing yesterday. The 54-year-old was, Brett Favre's 54 years old. I'm old. He was testifying before House Ways and Means Committee and about his efforts to secure funds for Prevacus, which is a company making drugs to treat concussions. And then he just kind of offhandedly announced this news.
Sadly, I also lost an investment in a company that I believed was developing a breakthrough concussion drug I thought would help others. And I'm sure you'll understand why it's too late for me, because I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Hey, Tony Colombo here for Capriotti's, St. Louis's newest and best sandwich shop. Capriotti's menu doesn't stop. You won't have one favorite, you'll have many. For me, the lineup includes the hand-pulled homemade turkey, the Italian, the chicken parmesan, and the list goes on. Even the fries at Capriotti's are next level. Check them out and let me know how your list of favorites is shaping up. Capriotti's Sandwich Shop is open from 9 to 9, 7 days a week at the corner of Manchester and McKnight in Rock Hill. Get more details, including how to impress at your next event with their great catering at capriottis.com.
Rhino Shield is far superior to even the best traditional exterior house paint. Rhino Shield is 8 to 10 times thicker than paint and comes with a 25-year transferable warranty. Rhino Shield is the only ceramic coating company that has been chosen by Disney, This Old House, and 3 times on HGTV's Curb Appeal, where every episode is concentrated on unpainted brick, bonds and seals to stucco, wood, hardy, block, color lock, masonite, and more. No better product for those steel aluminum-sided homes that have become, chalky and tired looking. We coat sloped and flat roofs to extend their lives too. After 15 years, we've got a great reputation and a superior product. As long as it's affordable, why wouldn't you do it? Before you make the costly mistake of painting with traditional paint, you'd be best served to call Rhino Shield today. We are the experts and our evaluations are free. 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com. Tell them, ladies.
No pain, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Tim Jones here with Dr. Pat Fader of Comprehensive Chiropractic. Doc, I hear you all have a new treatment program for everyone's chronic knee pain.
Tim, that's right. We are helping patients with chronic knee pain by addressing the root cause of their condition.
And what makes your program so unique?
Well, Tim, many programs focus on just one component of the problem, the structural component. Our program focuses on the metabolic and neurological component to complete the picture and improve our patients' outcomes. We get to the root cause of what is driving inflammation in a person's body and address it directly.
For your chronic knee pain and more, visit cchiropractic.com. All information, make an appointment at cchiropractic.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Israel's military says a ballistic missile that was fired from Lebanon targeting Tel Aviv was successfully intercepted. It was knocked out of the sky.
This was, according to the Israeli military briefing, a heavy warhead that was used to target Tel Aviv. They say it was a civilian area that was potentially under attack. They had their air defense systems intercept this rocket. The Israeli military says it's already targeted the launch site for this particular rocket, and that has stressed also that this was far from the border between Israel and Lebanon. It was quite deep inside the country.
The BBC's Yolande Nell in Jerusalem says no damage, no casualties. A Tel Aviv rocket among hundreds targeting Israel in this latest round of missile launches by Hezbollah. Communist China says it has successfully test-fired an intercontinental ballistic missile into the Pacific. Forecasters warn the Gulf Coast and the broader Southeast get ready for the possibility of a major hurricane.
Forecasters say Tropical Storm Helene, which formed Tuesday in the Caribbean Sea and is moving north toward the U.S., could strengthen into a major hurricane as soon as late Thursday. The storm is anticipated to be unusually large and fast-moving. The National Hurricane Center says hurricane warnings were issued for the northwestern Florida coastline and part of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. Watches were issued for parts of western Cuba and Florida, including Tampa Bay. A storm surge warning was issued for nearly the entirety of Florida's west coast. I'm Norman Hall.
The nonprofit Haitian Bridge Alliance, invoking the right of private citizens in Ohio to file charges, has done so against former President Trump and Senator J.D. Vance, stemming from some of the things they have said about the immigration situation in Springfield, Ohio. Watching Wall Street, Dow futures down 16 points, NASDAQ futures off 41. More on these stories, townhall.com.
You just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free. It's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF.
From the best-selling author of Wonder and the creators of Jesus Revolution comes Whitebird.
I'm sure your father has told you stories about when I was a young girl.
Hope can lift you.
You stay with us, okay?
Courage can save you.
You're the greatest person I've ever met.
Love can free you.
When kindness can cost you your life, it becomes like a miracle.
From the director of Finding Neverland, Whitebird, rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters October 4th. Tickets and showtimes at Whitebird.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. After days of much needed rainfall, we're going to start to dry things out this afternoon. Temperatures nearing 75 degrees, a lot more sun as those clouds begin to break later. There is only a 10% chance for an isolated shower, but most of us are going to be dry. Now, this dry stretch does not last too long. While I expect Thursday to primarily have dry conditions, rain develops over the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL, brought to you by Jewels on Hampton, paying some of the highest prices for your gold, silver, diamonds, and more. Call 314-752-5000 or visit jewelsonhampton.com.
Parents want more choices rather than fewer when it comes to their children's education. And now some Missouri parents will have one more option to get their children the best education available. Low-income students and those with disabilities in Missouri's largest communities can now apply for an Empowerment Scholarship Account, or ESA. With an ESA, the money the state would normally pay to your child's public school goes into an account that you control. You can use the funds for private school tuition, online learning programs, a private tutor, or other approved uses. You can tailor your child's education. For too long, Missouri officials have operated on the mistaken notion that parents only need one choice. They're assigned public school based on their address. ESAs put parents in charge. It's school choice at its best, with money following the students to the place that best fits their needs. Learn more at showmeinstitute.org. This Show Me Minute has been brought to you by Show Me Institute and Show Me Opportunity.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple dog dare you!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
All right, kicking the can down the road just a little more. Is that a win for Congress or for Republicans in Congress? We're going to get to that here in just a second.
I think everybody loses.
Also, now there is a report that's been issued, the preliminary report into the attempted assassination of Donald Trump in Pennsylvania.
The first one.
The first one. I have to specify which attempt on his life at this point. But the first report from a, looks like a Senate committee. The bottom line is, and I haven't read the report yet because literally this is breaking news right now that this report's being issued, is that the attempt should have been foreseeable and it was preventable.
Of course.
Right.
Wait, so is that the conclusion?
That's the top line report. Now the rest of it in there, I just haven't had a chance to see yet. So
confirming what we all knew,
but confirming what was clearly obvious to all of us. So we'll get to that a little bit later here. Yeah, ready. So Flashback Friday this week. Get the requests in. I know there's some people that just they know about it, they send them in, but by Wednesday I want to remind everybody, get your 80s bump music request in by tomorrow afternoon so Stell can pick the good ones and discard the bad ones, and hopefully not hurt your feelings really too much if you send in bad ones. But if you got 80s music you want to hear for the bump music on Friday, let us know. Send us the request.
I won't literally discard them. I'll just put them in the bullpen.
There you go. which is a way of saying they weren't good enough. Precisely. All right, it's 7:07 right now. Later on today, here on Wednesday, it is expected that the House is going to take up the continuing resolution to keep the government funded at least through sort of mid-late December. And we're joined now by Rick Manning from Americans for Limited Government. First of all, Rick, is that still the plan? That's the plan that I saw before, frankly, I went to bed yesterday. And secondly, we don't have a SAVE Act in it. So did Mike Johnson just kind of have his bluff called on this and lose?
Well, first of all, I want to put in for Van Halen's Ain't Talking About Love.
Yes.
Okay.
Bump music. Okay.
Yes. All right. We'll take it.
So, because I think We've Been to the Edge is really a good lead in for anything on the show. But second of all,
awesome.
The answer is no. Mike Johnson didn't get a chance to have his bluff called because Republicans wouldn't vote for the underlying bill that had the SAVE Act in it. Let's just be clear. The debate over whether it was a 6-month, 3-month CR was one of the more frustrating things I've ever seen. It is predictable. We know what happens when they go to December with a CR. Most of the Congress, not most, many people in Congress are not going to be in Congress in January, and they know it. And it's the last time to get a Christmas tree ornament on the Christmas tree. So they get lots of going away presents. And the deadline's December 20th. So you're guaranteed that people are going to say, we're not going to hang around. We're going to keep the government open. And we're going to put Christmas tree ornaments all over it. And everybody's going to get a goodie. It's like going to an Oprah show, and everybody gets a car. And then they all go home and we pay for it. It was such a grievous mistake that Republicans who did not vote for the 6-month CR killed any chance to get the SAVE Act attached, and 2, they killed any chance of being able to actually get the spending level that we have now be the same as it would be in 6 months in March, when hopefully we have a Republican president, we have Donald Trump as president, and hopefully we have a Republican Congress who can then shape the spending to what they want to do. But now people blame Johnson on this, are missing the boat. If Republicans had been willing to vote for a 6-month CR with the SAVE Act on it and the Social Security fund and the Secret Service funding on it, there would have been a fight, and we could have said, "Oh, he caved because he gave it to the Senate, he gave it to Biden," but no, he couldn't get it past his own House. So the fact is, Republicans are the ones who killed the SAVE Act.
Good morning, Rick. Gabe Pfeiffer here. So we've been doing this dance for decades at this point, right? The CR dance. Is there any way out? Is there an off ramp to get back to actually, passing full on budgets like the legislature is mandated to do?
Truthfully, probably not. But the hope is that this past time, for instance, the House passed 6 of their appropriations bills. They sent them to the Senate. Senate didn't deal with any of them. Didn't bring up a single appropriations bill. Didn't bring up any of their own appropriations bills. They did nothing. And if you have one of the bodies that refuses to do anything, in the Senate you need 60 to do something. They refuse to do anything. You're always going to have a CR, because no matter what you do in the House, you can work your whole nonstop on appropriations bills. But if you send them to the Senate doesn't do anything with them, you've wasted your time. And until the Senate decides they're going to pass appropriations bills, we're going to see this going on for the foreseeable future. And truthfully, it's almost impossible to pass one of these things through the Senate because you need 60 votes. So it's all in all, I think this is our new budget system. This is a new spending system. I'd like for it to go back to the way it was. I'd like to have appropriations bills matter. I'd like to have all those different, occasionally pass. but where people who actually are studying what's going on in the agencies are sitting there putting together thoughtfully, hopefully putting together spending bills, asking questions, making cuts where they need to be made, and adding money where it needs to be added. And that's the way it's supposed to work. But the House is kind of neutered if the Senate refuses to do anything. And that's what happened in this particular situation.
Good morning, Rick. Stalponticus here. So, how come no one in the uniparty, as I like to call them, or as we call them here on the show, no one on either side of the aisle seems to understand or seems to be concerned with the fact that we have a $35 trillion debt, and we're paying $1 trillion a year in interest payments? It doesn't seem to matter to anyone. Does that bother you at all?
Yeah, like every day. Yes, I've been writing on this for so long, and it's the answer you get sometimes is kind of perverse. 10 years ago, we were warning that we're getting near 100% of our debt to GDP. Okay. And everybody says, don't need to worry about that because it's the government owns a lot of the debt. And so we just owe it to ourselves. Okay. So that was the excuse then. Now we've got now we have 100% debt to GDP, and overall, I think it's like 135% debt to GDP. There's never been a country in a peacetime that's had this level of debt to GDP. Any country then survived. You end up with Argentinian levels of inflation, where it's 250% a year, rather than they've had great strides. They're down to over only 90% a year inflation in Argentina, because Milio, the new guy, just basically said, "I'm firing everybody in the government, cut the government spending down." So but that's not. At some point, and we don't know when, at some point, they're going to look around and they're going to say, some people buy the bonds are going to say, you know what, you have to pay us. And, the interest rates are going to be raised and go up higher and higher. And that's going to make it so we're not able to pay our debt. Greece, their interest rates, when we called the debt on Greece, went all the way up above 6%. On their government bonds, and that destroyed the government of Greece, because their debtors called the people who own their debt, the creditors called the debtors dead, and then Greece couldn't do it. Are we there? Probably, but as long as we have the biggest military in the world, nobody dares call our debt. It's kind of a perverse thing. When you're the biggest bully in the block, you get certain privileges, but at some point, when our debt's bigger than our interest payments are bigger than our defense budget, and our and Social Security and Medicare and the like are taking up, so-called mandatories, are taking up 70% of the budget, and Congress can't figure out what to do with 30% of it. 30% of our spending is all we're arguing about. 27% actually is all we're arguing about in the CR. 73% is just going to happen no matter what they do, unless it makes systemic changes in laws. So in some small way, they are effectively, it's a drop in the bucket that they're trying to deal with, and there's nothing they're going to do in the CR that actually will do anything about our budget situation in the future.
All right, we're visiting with Rick Manning from Americans for Limited Government. Rick, I just got a minute or so left here, but the plan is to vote today. I'm actually seeing conflicting reports as to whether or not the votes are there to pass this convoluted version of it and send it to the Senate. What are you hearing from there within the belly of the beast?
It's here's who they'll get. They'll get all the people who were the defense hawks who voted against the 6-month CR, because the Pentagon doesn't like 6-month CRs. Pentagon wants their budget passed. So they'll get a lot of the people who voted that way. The question, will they lose more people in the Freedom Caucus because of the shortened length? Is possible. And from what I can tell, they're not depending on Democrat support at this one. If they end up having the Democrat support, once again, that's when the Christmas tree gets wild. And right now, I think you're just crossing your fingers that they're able to do it. I will tell you this: Mike Johnson worked a whole lot harder trying to get the 6-month CR with SAVAC than he is on the 3-month, because I was in meeting after meeting on the 6-month one, and I really haven't heard anything from them about the 3-month one. So there's not a lot of outside pressure being put on the legislators on the 3-month CR. So we'll see what happens.
All right, got it. Rick Manning, Americans for Limited Government. I get your newsletter pretty much every day. People want to subscribe to that. They want to be in touch with what you all do. What's the way to do it, Rick?
Sure. dailytorch.com, dailytorch.com. Just subscribe, and all you need to do is just put your email in, and it automatically sends the daily, the 5-day-a-week publication we do. And if you don't like it, unsubscribe. Simple.
Pretty easy.
But,
I've been getting it. I've been getting it.
Automated.
Yeah, I've been getting it for years. I haven't unsubscribed yet. There. All right, Rick.
Well, there you
appreciate.
go.
Yeah, appreciate the update, man. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Rick.
Appreciate it. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Here's what we're going to do for the next little bit, because now we now have the report put in on the first Donald Trump assassination attempt. So let's do that. Let's do that around 7:50, guys. So I can bring you the update, which frankly gives me time to actually read the reports on it, because that was just submitted a little bit ago. Right around 7:21 here. We know our phones are listening to us and tracking us. Is your car doing that? I want to give you the update why that question is being asked here at 7:21. And if your car is listening to you, what else is listening to you? What else is tracking you? Where's my tinfoil hat? Let's bust them out. And then at 7:35, this is interesting. Are we actually turning the tide and starting to win this DEI battle in this country?
Oh,
maybe we'll do that conversation around 7:35 here on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your kazoo. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up,
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Allman Report.
Hey, Wednesday on the Allman Report, we have our first Republican threatening to leave the country if Trump is elected. Ha, 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 good riddance. Allman Report, Wednesday, News Talk STL.
Jamie Allman. Weeknights at 8 on News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Day one, it's going to be about implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy.
Where has she been for 3.5 years?
So we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
Kamala's website is all lives, no policy.
I'm not going to vote for a wall under any circumstances.
Campaign aides say Kamala now wants to build the wall.
1019 and 94.1.
My values have not changed.
News Talk STL.
St. Louis is number one
for conservative talk.
Hey, guess what's on the way here before too long? Cold weather. That means that you need to be thinking about winterizing your home, and getting started on that early is smart. One, so you can avoid, the busy season at the home improvement stores or on Amazon. And secondly, you don't get caught off guard when the first winter weather really comes in, because, hey, this is St. Louis. This is the Midwest. You never know when something like that can hit. But here's why you need to call my friends Window World at 314-993-1800 to be a part of that plan. They are simply the best for less. And the thing is that when they custom build your windows for your home, and I've said this before, but I'll say it again. When you go to replace your windows, one, a lot of people say, great, these windows will be good for 10 years or 20 years. And if you're lucky, maybe they will. With Window World, they're good for the life of your home, and even for the life of the building. You can transfer that warranty to the next owner of your home. Double strength glass, and also so energy efficient that when Energy Star updated their standards, the new Energy Star standards for energy efficiency, Window World windows were already far beyond that. These windows will make your home more energy efficient. But here's the thing, because they are custom made for your home, they don't have them just in a warehouse and saying, okay, let's go grab one that kind of fits, and then we'll sort of build stuff in and stuff stuff in there and try to make it fit. No, they custom cut these for your home. And by the way, these windows are made right here in the United States. They are beautiful. They are energy efficient. They are strong, and they will save you money by making your home more energy efficient. 314-993-1800. And by the way, they are less expensive. These, when they say the best for less,
talk to Window World, get that free in-home estimate, and then go down to the home improvement store, find the generic ones, and compare prices. They want you to do that. Then look at Yelp. Then look at the Better Business Bureau. See what customers of Window World are saying, and what they say overall consistently is that this company treated them right. They delivered what they promised. They got a great deal, and their home is better for it. 314-993-1800. You can call that number and talk to somebody 7 days a week other than major holidays. And they also have 0% financing of up to 36 months with approved credit. So it's even easier to improve the look and the strength and the performance of your home. Tell them Mike was bragging about him on the radio again. Give him a call today. Get that free in-home, no pressure estimate. 314-993-1800.
Are you ready to stand against tyranny, strengthen the conservative movement, and enjoy tasty barbecue? Don't miss the 4th annual Missouri Young Republicans Freedom Fest Barbecue. Join us Saturday, October 12th at the St. Louis County GOP headquarters in Fenton. We've got an exciting lineup of invited speakers and mouthwatering barbecue. RSVP now at STLYRS.com. That's STLYRS.com. Presented by News Talk STL and Missouri Young Republicans.
In the fast-paced world of digital marketing, making connections is a challenge for any business. But what if we told you there is a place where connections aren't just made, they're grown? Meet 2060 Digital, your premier Google partner and top-tier digital agency. We don't just follow trends, we set them. At 2060 Digital, we're not just another agency, we're your strategic partner. We dive deep into your challenges and develop solutions that drive measurable outcomes. Ready to elevate your digital presence with campaigns that connect? Google 2060 Digital today.
Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL.
All your hard-earned tax dollars and mine are going to fund illegal aliens who come across the border penniless, jobless, skillless, and they're given a cell phone, an identity, and a cash stipend every month.
Mark McCloskey on fire.
That beats your Social Security income if you should have the good nature to work your ass off your whole life and retire.
Mark McCloskey on fire. Sundays at 5 on News Talk STL. Brought to you in part by Modern Weapon Systems in Fenton. Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A year in the hole had taken its toll.
I love King's X. Black Flag. All right. Is your car tracking you? Is your car telling on you?
My car.
Your car.
Is it a Decepticon?
Nerd.
Hey, you knew what I was talking about.
Yeah.
Nerd.
What's the main transformer? The main.
Oh, the main guys. Well, there's Optimus Prime. He's the good guy, the main good guy, and the main bad guy is Megatron.
Which one's yellow and?
Oh, that's Bumblebee.
Okay,
he's like the sidekick for the.
I met him.
Oh, you met Bumblebee?
Cool.
I did.
A few years ago, I was in LA. And I got this after hours tour. They took us into the prop room in the movie theater.
Oh, yeah.
And that Bumblebee
the full on.
Now, is Optimus Prime, is that the one that's the
he's
18-wheeler? Yeah, okay. I met him too.
Yes.
So it's awesome. It's a full size. It's a
awesome.
full size tractor trailer that I'll show you pictures on my phone.
Oh, yes. Right. I love that stuff.
But is your car tracking you? Okay. This is really weird. I'll tell you who's asking that here in a second. By the way, fighting DEI culture in government and in business is one thing. But fighting it on college campuses might be that sort of preventative measure that's needed more. So is the question common sense and decency? Are we winning? Are we actually winning? We got the update for you on that at 7:35. Okay. I'm trying to think. Gabe and I are trying to figure out the other day. We were talking about something off air in one of the information segments.
Yeah, I can't remember what exactly.
I don't remember what it was, but I remember literally going back to my desk after the show, and whatever it was we were talking about, suddenly that's featured on my social media feeds with ads and things like people are talking about it. It was clearly, that the phones are listening.
Yes, because it was way too obscure of a topic for it to just naturally appear, and it just so happened to appear right then on your feed.
So Reason Magazine puts out this video yesterday that shows up in my feed, in my reels, and it's 50 some seconds. But check this out; it brings up some fascinating
questions. I'm just going to play the whole thing here. It's a real quick video, but here's the audio from it.
Is your car spying on you? Here's how to check. I just purchased a Toyota 4Runner after 18 years of driving a Honda Element. It was like a brick phone on wheels, but now I'm driving a smartphone with all kinds of tracking technology. So the first thing I did before even leaving the dealership was turn off as much data collection as possible. I downloaded the manufacturer's app, entered my VIN, and then declined all connected services features. These wirelessly transmit my location and vehicle health to Toyota. Then I went to vehicleprivacyreport.com, entered my VIN, and I about died when I saw all the tracking still on my car. My 4Runner collects identifiers like my name, mailing address, email, and demographic info. It also collects biometrics, including my geolocation, driver's license, and financial info. And I learned my car not only tracks my data, it sells it too. My car sells information to affiliates like sponsors, partners, and advertisers. And finally, it should come as a surprise to no one that car companies will share your data with the government when legally obligated to do so. So I opted out of targeted advertising, the sharing or selling of my data, and any marketing communication.
Okay, so once again, that's from Reason Magazine.
Oh my gosh. That is wild.
There's a reason why I call my car Kit. For folks who don't remember, that was Knight Rider.
Oh, I remember.
Back in the 80s.
that was the best.
I love that show.
That was a great show. Yeah, that's scary. That's some scary stuff. Now, I've seen kind of similar videos about your phone, right? Okay,
right.
You got to turn off the sharing, and you got to opt out of this, and you got to go into the settings. It's like 6 or 7 levels down, and then you can make sure that they're not reading your brainwaves or something like that. You know what I mean? So, but it's kind of amazing now how basically every device has full connectivity.
Mm-hmm.
Every device is telling on you, and they're selling all of the information.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing. I mean, this is the information age, right? So I guess it shouldn't surprise us that information is currency.
Right. Now, I had even my car now that I've got, and I drive a Kia Sportage. Once if something like I'll get a warning if something is, it looks like it's off, like, hey, maintenance need to go check this thing.
Yeah.
But that's in the vehicle.
Yeah. It's self-diagnostics and
right.
stuff like that. That's
I
fine.
know, but I know some other people who will actually get a thing where somebody goes, hey, your tire pressure is down. Why don't you come in and do it? And your car is letting like some central location under some service.
Letting the dealership know.
Yeah, the dealership or the manufacturer, some know, and then they let you know, hey, why don't you come in for service? And it's a great, I guess, convenience, but isn't that creepy?
It's very creepy. By the way, those she mentioned the affiliated companies or something like that. That's one of the ways they get around the laws that say you can't have unsolicited communications. Basically it's the spam call law that says you're not supposed to be able to do that. There's a reason why you keep getting those. It's because all of those companies go into partnerships with the companies that you already have a relationship with. Right. So it's your cell phone, your car company, all those. If they say, well, we're an affiliate of, well, now that's the exemption within the law that allows them to continue to contact you and send you stuff.
On Rumble, Vicky says, this is driving me nuts when I'm at home. I think our computers are listening to us. No, Vicky, I don't think your computers are listening to you. I know they're listening to you.
They are. Absolutely.
They are listening to you.
Yep.
I am telling you, they're listening to you. And I am the one who's the least susceptible and least likely to jump on the tinfoil hat thing. But I've seen it over and over and over again. And so with your car, when they put it that way with Reason Magazine, it was like, well, that makes a lot of sense. That's a lot of information they can sell.
Yeah.
And a lot of information they can track.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind that one of the reasons that people really don't want additional, computerized technology is we've already heard in legislation a kill switch.
Yeah.
So let's get these EVs out there. Let's make sure we can take control in case of emergency, all of this. Well, this is the technology they're going to use to do it.
I could easily write a dystopian story about what a future would look like with this technology implemented. You don't drive your car, you ride in your car.
Yeah.
It just it logs itself into the national traffic system that determines how traffic is going to flow. You put in your destination and it determines everything, and it would feel convenient, it'd feel awesome, right? Except when you get targeted with something, and of course the story would focus around somebody gets targeted for something they didn't do, or maybe pre-crime that has been determined based on your demographics, and then
like a minority report,
so then you're locked in your car and it's driving to your local police station. You can't do anything about it.
I think that's called 1984.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, 1984.
If Orwell could have envisioned the technology we have today, 1984 would have been even more frightening.
Oh gosh, yes.
Okay, just for my friends on the left out there and some on the right now, unfortunately, 1984 was not a how-to manual.
Stop it.
It was a warning.
We moved it from the fiction section to the
Tyranny for Dummies.
Tyranny for Dummies section.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
Well, there you go again. Listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast after days of much needed rainfall. We're going to start to dry things out this afternoon. Temperatures nearing 75 degrees, a lot more sun as those clouds begin to break later. There is only a 10% chance for an isolated shower, but most of us are going to be dry. Now, this dry stretch does not last too long. While I expect Thursday to primarily have dry conditions, rain develops over the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
For over half a century, Joe Bacardi's has been serving up a little taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned since 1971, we're more than just a restaurant. We're a local landmark. With 4 convenient locations, we offer something for everyone, from our famous pizzas to mouth-watering entrees and delicious salads. Dine in with a glass of wine or grab a quick carryout. Whether it's dinner for 2 or catering for a crowd, Joe Bacardi's has you covered. Visit joebacardis.com and join our loyalty program. Joe Bacardi's, where every meal ends with buon appetito.
Larry Connor's commentary, brought to you by Vincent Jewelers. Vincent's has raised almost $2 million for local charities. Give Vincent's a chance to earn your business. Check for daily specials at vincentjewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's commentary on News Talk STL.
We all know if you ask VP Harris a question, the answer is going to take you all the way to Grandma's house and back, and maybe there'll be an answer somewhere in there. Well, recently, MSNBC host Stephanie Ruhle is on this program with Bill Maher, and a fellow panelist, New York Times columnist Brett Stevens, is on. And he turned to Ruhle and said, I have an honest question. When Harris refuses to answer or goes in roundabout ways to go nowhere, is she being vague for political reasons, or does she simply have no idea? And Ruhle said, well, she's in a tricky position. Joe Biden is currently commander-in-chief. She's VP, so it's difficult for anyone in her position to thread that kind of needle and say, here's what we should do when he's commander-in-chief. So on top of that, Brett, I don't think your question was really honest, suggesting that he was trying to put a knife into Kamala. And then she added, and let's say you don't like her answer. Are you going to vote for Donald Trump? You need to keep in mind when Kamala is questioned, she's not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. Oh, we all know that. And we know she's not perfect.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
What can AI do for your business? Well, my friends at PRI Global can help you with artificial intelligence. In fact, they have an AI innovation lab that develops cutting-edge tools tailored to meet the needs of your company. While many AI companies overpromise and underdeliver, PRI is your trusted, reliable partner. PRIglobal.ai. PRIglobal.ai.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of 3 places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities. Shouldn't your loved ones come first?
Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now with Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. I keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis's #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Hey, this is Todd Showalter. Join me on Saturday at 5 as I try to put some fun back into this dysfunctional radio station. It's The Right Mind Show with me, Todd Showalter, at 5 on Saturday. And, speaking of dysfunctional, let's get back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, this DEI culture finally being sort of snuffed out. We can hope, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before it gets to the boardroom, before it gets to this nonsense in corporate America, before it gets to this nonsense in government, it's got to come from somewhere. And the sort of festering cesspool where these things grow is typically your college and university campuses. So I'm glad there's an effort to try to attack it there,
Mm-hmm.
to put the kibosh on that. Is it succeeding? I've got an update for you here. 7:38 right now. Don't forget, we've got the News Talk STL Vice Presidential Debate Watch Party happening. We're going to do that at Johnny's Hideout in the High Ridge. And if you were at the presidential debate, you had a blast, and this one's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, coming up next Tuesday.
Right, October 1st. And of course, Chris and Tim are going to do their show from Johnny's Hideout. So get out there and hang out and have some dinner, maybe have a drink and listen to them do their show, and then hang out with them. And then every TV in the place goes on to the vice presidential debate starting at 8:00. So really appreciate Blue Sky Promotion and Apparel, and also Freddy's Market and Luxury Drivers STL, St. Louis Pizza and Wings in Afton, and of course Johnny's Hideout for making this happen. More details are at newstalkstl.com. And no, you don't have to register or sign up or get tickets. Just make it a point to come on out. You're going to be watching it anyway. You want to have some food, and based on what these two candidates have to say, you may want to have some drinks too. Either celebrate the future of our country or drown your sorrows. Make healthy choices. Just make healthy choices.
Bit of both.
All right. Joined now by Cherise Trump from Speech First. And Cherise, good chat with you again. Been a little while since you've been on the program here. Like I mentioned a few minutes ago, with the DEI thing, I think, got caught off guard years ago when all of a sudden these major corporations are poking us in the eye and we're saying we're your customers. And then we see it in government entities and government programs and all of this sort of thing. But that has to come from somewhere, and it kind of festers up a lot of times through the college campus and university system. What is the status of the ideological battle to win over this nonsensical worldview known as DEI right now?
It's an excellent question, because we have to start looking at what works and what doesn't. So, it's always something when we start seeing stuff seeping off campus and into the real world. But the reality is this has been going on for decades now, not only on college campuses, but it has been seeping into our media, into the shows we watch, into Hollywood. And it's been influencing significantly just our culture generally. And then, yes, more recently, we've been seeing ESG initiatives through companies requiring major corporations to toe the DEI, far left woke political agenda as well, in order to make sure they have the right investors. So yes, it did start on campus. It started on campus a very long time ago. It is based on Marxist ideology. So if that gives you an indicator of how long this has been going on, but it's something that it's because it's been existing for so long, it is very much built into various aspects of the university experience. So right now, everyone's kind of going after the DEI departments, because those are the newest things, and they're also very tangible. You can identify them easily. You can see who works for them. You know where the funding is going, and you can say, okay, that is outlawed. You can no longer do that. And a lot of states have initiated laws that say, nope, we're shutting down DEI departments. We're not paying for this anymore. And universities will, of course, try to get around that in some way by repurposing the staff of the DEI office into like Title IX offices or other areas of the academy in order to keep those people on campus exacting their own political agendas, regardless of whether or not they have DEI funding. So that's one issue that states have been trying to deal with. Like, how do we navigate that? How do we make sure they're not repurposing? They need to actually be firing these people. These are political ideologues who are specifically hired to enforce a political ideology on campus. That needs to stop. However, this is so built into curriculum, for example. It's so built into faculty departments. Many departments have their own DEI officers. Many law schools, medical schools have their own DEI departments. So if we're just looking at undergrad, then we're missing a big swath of the student population. So again, this is what Speech First has been working on a lot. We've been trying to help states kind of maneuver throughout and just identify instances for them where we might be missing, but still can be tackled by state policy. And our DEI report that we put out earlier this year shows that based on course mandates, for example. So a lot of universities, we found that 67% of schools, public and private, require students to take a DEI course in order to graduate. That's part of the curriculum. That's not something that's based out of a DEI department. It doesn't even need to be reinforced by a DEI department because it's just the university standard. So that's something that states could easily target and say, no, you cannot require students to take a DEI course in order to graduate.
Good morning, Cherise. Cape Pfeiffer here. So I think critics of the DEI, the anti-DEI legislation suggest that maybe the broad language might be misused or abused or misapplied. How do you respond to those people who would say that you're creating free speech concerns all on your own by going after the DEI offices?
Yeah, I mean, it's the interesting thing is, so we're a free speech organization, and we actually sue universities that violate free speech rights of their students through their policies. And so a lot of the policies that we've actually seen that attack free speech and suppress speech, censor students, and coerce them are almost all coming out of DEI departments, actually. And so we can say very confidently that DEI departments or the DEI, movement on campus and these initiatives actually do less to support speech than they do to help it. In fact, their policies specifically target student speech that's constitutionally protected. And I'm talking about them managing bias reporting systems, which are anonymous reporting systems where students are expected to report on one another for instances of bias. Because bias is uncomfortable. It offends people. It makes people, think about microaggressions and trigger warnings. And these are all concepts that were born out of this DEI ideology, right? This is what it was all born out of. So that exactly is an exact example of what these departments are trying to spew out. They're saying it's all for inclusivity. It's all for, they don't say equality, they say equity. And that's an important distinction there because that means equal outcome, not equal opportunity. And they all say it's all, diversity. There's no harm in just having a diverse population. Of course, we know that on its face, but if you're forcing the diverse population, if you're forcing people to not, to toe your line and say that they have to use your pronouns, they have to say the things that you want them to say, they can't dress up a certain way, they can't for Halloween. These are all very totalitarian tactics that are coming out of these departments. So I would argue that we're doing much more to save speech by getting rid of the DEI departments than we are in harming it.
Good morning, Cherise. Stalponticus here. So on the business side, Robbie Starbuck has been exposing DEI issues on the corporate side. Is there anyone on the educational side doing a similar expose besides you?
Yeah, there's a number of organizations that are doing great things. So the Manhattan Institute has Ilya Shapiro and Chris Rufo. They've been working hard on exposing a lot of this. Aaron Tabarium at the Washington Free Beacon, he and I just worked on an article together about University of South Carolina because this we have a tip line at Speech First that I hope many students hear this and use it because we get tips saying what universities are forcing students to do with DEI. And one of the things we found at USC is that they're requiring students, in order to have access to register for their classes, they have to pass a DEI module with an 80% or higher. And it's coercing answers out of the students, saying this is the correct answer. You did not answer this correctly, so you have to say this. You have to say DEI is good. You cannot say DEI is harmful. And so that is clear evidence of coercion and seriously concerning for the campus. So Aaron was able to put that expose out there on the Washington Free Beacon. Again, there's a number of people who are trying to expose things. Now we have to find, now that we've kind of understood the problem, we've exposed it, now we have to find ways to get rid of it and to solve the problem. So that's where states come in. States have to take control of their universities. You see Florida and Texas and Idaho and a number of states attempting to do this. But of course, there are going to be roadblocks. The most important thing I can emphasize for states, though, in this situation is that there has to be accountability measures included in their policies. This is something that they're always hesitant to do. It's difficult to pass when there are accountability measures, but their policies and their laws have to say that you will not get state funding from us if you do not follow this law. And I know that sounds like a no-brainer to us, but at states, they actually have a really hard time putting in accountability measures into their laws, holding universities accountable.
All right, we just got a minute or so left. We're visiting with Cherise Trump from Speech First. You know what the word that jumped out at me the most in that last answer you just gave is coercion. We're not talking about the marketplace of ideas on a college campus where you're supposed to debate ideas, even stupid ones. We're talking about coercion as in this is going to be the accepted entrance mindset. We're going to frame it and base it from here based on what we're going to force you to accept as right and wrong. To me, that's the key of this entire conversation.
Right, exactly. That's the end goal, right? So they want you to be repeating everything that they are saying as correct. It's very Orwellian. It starts off with dividing people into groups, these identity politics, separating individuals so that they can't collaborate with one another, so that they can't feel like they're peers. Instead, they kind of are looking over their shoulder, suspicious of one another. And then it moves on. Now that you're all divided, we have more control over you. And now it moves on and says, okay, now that we have more control over you, we're going to stop you from questioning things. You can't question. You have to say what we want to say. And then it moves into the coercive tactics where you say, okay, now this is the right answer. You can't say the wrong answer anymore. And it goes on and on like that. That is the playbook of a totalitarian regime. And so it's important that we recognize red flags when we see them.
All right. And going after this toxic ideology on the college campus level before it, well, pun intended, graduates up, absolutely something needs to be done. So Cherise, people want to learn more about what you're doing at Speech First. The best way to do it is how?
Speechfirst.org is our website. That's where you can find our student tip line. You can also find our report that I mentioned on DEI, and you can learn more about our lawsuits. You can also follow us on social media at Speech First, and my own Twitter account is Cherise Trump, so you can find me there.
All right. Thanks, Cherise. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks.
All right. Just ahead here, we've now got the first Senate report, the preliminary report on the attempted assassination of Donald Trump, the first one in Pennsylvania. Yeah. I need to narrow it down now at this point. But it's not going to surprise you what that report says. Yes, the very attempt could have been stopped before any shots were fired. I'll tell you what little we know right around 7:51 here on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Join us for our Get in the Seat event September 25th through the 28th at all Missouri and Illinois Seidenstricker Nobi locations. Take advantage of 0% financing for 84 months with no money down on John Deere compact tractors. And discover more event-only specials these 4 days in-store or online. Every tractor comes with our S&P 10-year guarantee. Visit snpartners.com for more details.
Offer valid through 9/28/2024. Some restrictions apply. See dealer for details. Hey, Columbo here for the cleaning pros at Zero Res. September in St. Louis means back to school, football parties, and barbecue season, which means things can get real messy real fast. And that's why Zero Res wants to help you out with this great offer. Book a cleaning in September and mention the Columbo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Just mention the Columbo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Attention thrill seekers and fun lovers. Did you know the Midwest's largest wooden roller rink is right here in Missouri? Welcome to Piccadilly Palace, your ultimate family entertainment destination. Glide across our massive skating floor, conquer arcade challenges, put your way through mini golf, and dive into cutting-edge virtual reality experiences. And coming soon, a relaxing bar and grill patio, state-of-the-art golf simulators, and heart-pounding 2-story go-kart racing next to East Central College in Union, Missouri. Plan your visit now at PiccadillyPalace.com. That's PiccadillyPalace.com.
Tim Jones here for AMF Electric, in business since 1965, offering a full line of industrial, commercial, residential, electrical, and system services. AMF is a merit shop. They work successfully for all owners who favor freedom of economic choice. Yes, even on other AFL trades jobs. At AMF Electric, they're unabashedly pro-American. Call them 314-647-4066. Online, amfelectric.com. That's amfelectric.com.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com.
Hey, this is Larry Connors. Make sure you're listening later today at 6 o'clock on News Talk STL for my show, Larry Connors USA. Now, back to Mike Ferguson in the morning.
All right, within the last hour, we've got the first report, I would say the initial report from the Senate investigation of the first attempted assassination of Donald Trump, the one in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So obviously, I have not had time to read the thing.
No,
although it looks like it's
95 pages or something.
I have not had time to do that.
Yeah.
No, neither has anybody else, although there are some reporters who probably had some early access to it.
Oh, yeah.
So I've got at least a report on that I can scan through and give you a kind of an idea of what you're going to find. 7:53 right now. I'm Mike Ferguson. Gabe Pfeiffer's here. Stel Ponticus is here. Don't forget, we've got Flashback Friday coming up this week. You want to get in your 80s bump music requests, do it by tomorrow afternoon. Got to get those in. Email them to Stel or put them on the comments on Facebook or tweet them at us or put them in the chat box. We had several put in on Rumble on the chat box already. So let us know what you want to hear for Flashback Friday. Okay, by the way, electric vehicle mandates. Republicans did pass a resolution to end the mandate. Now, that doesn't have the force of law, but at least there's an effort doing that. We're going to get the update on that around 8:05. And at 8:35, 8:20, we're going to do a news update, including the execution of Marcellus Williams. The whole region, the country is talking about this execution. 8:35, we're going to tell you what we know about this. Okay. So according to, and I found the article, it's popping up everywhere. I found it on Newsmax.
Yeah. I'm looking at a CBS News version, but
okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just read the first paragraph here. Multiple Secret Service failures ahead of the July rally for former President Donald Trump, where a gunman opened fire, were, and I'm quoting here, foreseeable, preventable, and directly related to the events resulting in the assassination attempt that day, end of quote. And that is according to a bipartisan Senate investigation that was released literally like an hour ago, not even an hour ago. Ronald Rowe Jr. is the agency's acting director. He's quoted in this Newsmax article as saying, "This was a failure on the part of the United States Secret Service. It's important that we hold ourselves to account for the failures of July 13th and that we use the lessons learned to make sure that we do not have another failure like this again." And so I'm going to kind of go down through this. Now, first of all, this is not the guy who was in charge at the time. So I think it's at least, whether he means it or not, I think it's a good thing that he's at least saying this is on us. We failed.
Right.
We did not do our job. Because those of us who have never had a day's worth of law enforcement training, we could all see what happened that day and ask the very reasonable questions. Why?
Yeah.
Why was that uncovered? Where's the we don't need to. I mean, I am not a police officer. I am not a detective, but I've watched an awful lot of CSI. And it's kind of the same thing. So I'm kind of an expert.
Well, it's like I don't know. It's like watching a swimming race or something like that. It's like I've seen how the pros swim. So if you got somebody in there flopping around and just splashing everywhere, it's like I don't think that's how that works. I don't think that's how that's supposed to look.
No, I mean either they're having a lot more fun or they're drowning.
Yeah, exactly.
One or the other.
Yeah, it's like I mean I'm not a very good swimmer, but I know that's not what that's supposed to look like.
Precisely. Exactly. Okay, so investigators, and once again, I'm going back to this article that I found on Newsmax. Investigators found there was no clear chain of command among the Secret Service, and I'm reading from the article, and other security agencies, and no plan for coverage of the building where the shooter climbed up to fire the shots. Officials were operating on multiple separate radio channels, leading to missed communications, and an inexperienced drone operator was stuck on a helpline after his equipment wasn't working correctly.
Why am I hearing about threats on TV? An agent wrote in a note after the shooting was included in the report.
The latest news.
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced.
He actually flew a drone in the hours before the attack.
I can't wait to debate the guy. We should be talking about public policies that matter.
Ukraine is proving that it can indeed restore justice.
As a 14-year-old, he will be charged with murder and he will be tried as an adult.
Our future and our freedom is at stake in this election.
101.9 and 94.1.
St. Louis's #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Legends of Country Rock with Pure Prairie League, Atlanta Rhythm Section, Richie Furay from Poco and Buffalo Springfield, and Firefall. This Saturday night, the Family Arena. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House box office located at the Family Arena or Ticketmaster. Don't miss Legends of Country Rock live.
Blue Oyster Cult is back live. Friday, October 4th at the Family Arena. With special guests Tommy DiCarlo, a former lead singer of Boston, and Jason Sheff, longtime lead singer of Chicago. Tickets on sale now at the Carroll House Furniture box office, located at the Family Arena or a Ticketmaster. Blue Oyster Cult.
As the daughter of an OBGYN, I learned from a young age that no topic is too taboo for discussion at the dinner table. This family-centered, transparent approach to health and wellness that my dad, you may know him as Dr. Randy Tobler, created for my siblings and I, is what we strive to deliver to our patients at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Sammy Tobler-Gregory with Body of Health, where relationships matter. Come learn about healthcare the way it ought to be and schedule your free discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
News Talk STL invites you to an electrifying evening at Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge for the Vice Presidential Debate Watch Party, Tuesday night. It all kicks off at 4 with Jones and Arbs broadcasting live from Johnny's. Then at 7, grab your seat for the main event as the VP candidates debate. Brought to you by Blue Sky Apparel and Promotions and UV Print Shop, Luxury Drivers STL, Freddy's Market in Webster Groves, and St. Louis Pizza and Wings in Afton. Your home for America Decides 2024. News Talk STL.
Hey, Colombo here for Intervine, a great local company that has customers all across the country due to the quality of their products. Intervine has the best flashlights, lanterns, headlamps, and even batteries, including the new Monster 2000 Lumen waterproof lantern and the Sentinel 2000 self-defense flashlight. Our home and vehicles are full of great Intervine products, and right now you can shop their website and get 25% off your entire purchase just by using my name, Tony, as your promo code. That's promo code Tony at Intervine.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. A scathing report documents multiple failures in preventing the first Trump assassination attempt.
Secret Service failures ahead of the attempted assassination of Donald Trump at a rally in Butler, Pennsylvania this July were foreseeable and preventable. That's according to a bipartisan report from the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee released today. Similar to the agency's own probe, the committee panel found multiple failures on almost every level ahead of the shooting. There was no clear chain of command among the agencies, no plan for coverage of the building where the shooter climbed up. Investigators found the Secret Service was informed about an individual on the roof 2 minutes before he opened fire. A sniper saw agents running with guns drawn, but did not think to tell other officers to get Trump off the stage. Jennifer King, Washington.
Tropical storm Helene, strengthening off the northeast coast of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, is eyeing Florida.
We anticipate it's going to become a hurricane later today, sometime in the next 6 to 12 hours as it moves near Yucatan out into the Gulf of Mexico. And after that, we are expecting steady to rapid intensification as the storm moves towards the Florida Gulf Coast, or the Florida Big Bend region and the northeast Gulf Coast.
The National Hurricane Center's Jack Bevin, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis.
Know that this thing's there. Know that this could have broad impacts. And we're anticipating impacts. 100, 200 miles outside of the eye of the storm, you could see with winds and you can see with surge. So if you're in the Tampa Bay area, you anticipate that you're going to see impacts. We could also see impacts in Southwest Florida with some of the surge, just depending on what the track is.
House Republicans investigating Ukrainian President Zelensky's taxpayer-financed visit to Pennsylvania this week. He hobnobbed with Democrat politicians and called Senator J.D. Vance too radical. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Anyone with everyday aches and pains, I've got a question. What are you missing out on? Probably a lot. So let me tell you about Relief Factor. Relief Factor is a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll discover what it's like to feel better. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4RELIEF.
From the best-selling author of Wonder and the creators of Jesus Revolution comes Whitebird.
I'm sure your father has told you stories about when I was a young girl.
Hope can lift you.
You stay with us, okay?
Courage can save you.
You're the greatest person I've ever met.
Love can free you.
When kindness can cost you your life, it becomes like a miracle.
From the director of Finding Neverland, Whitebird, rated PG-13, may be inappropriate for children under 13. In theaters October 4th. Tickets and showtimes at Whitebird.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. After days of much needed rainfall, we're going to start to dry things out this afternoon. Temperatures nearing 75 degrees, a lot more sun as those clouds begin to break later. There is only a 10% chance for an isolated shower, but most of us are going to be dry. Now, this dry stretch does not last too long. Well, I expect Thursday to primarily have dry conditions. Rain develops over the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
History, wine, spirits, food, and music, plus an awesome name. That's the Old House in Hog Hollow. This beautiful historic home's been turned into a wine bar and event venue that could host any and all of your gatherings. Take a tour while enjoying a glass of wine and see all the original features that are still around from the 1850s. Open Thursday through Sunday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and brunch, with live music on select dates paired with wine tasting. Find them at 14319 Olive Boulevard in Chesterfield or online at oldhouseinhoghollow.com.
Man, what a great party you're throwing here. This wasp nest is great.
Yeah, man, we got about 70 wasps in here.
Too bad we can't fit any more wasps in here. It looks like they're having fun outside, stinging all the kids. Oh, man, who just pulled up?
Oh, no, it's the pest control company again with those green wheels. They seem to kill every one of my parties.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. Give us a call today at 636-486-7888. Learn more about our special $67 offer. You can visit us online at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Mike Ferguson.
Are you pretending to be crazy?
Gabe Pfeiffer.
There's something serious I have to tell you about the future.
Get up, St. Louis.
Will you guys knock it off?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Get up, this is your cousin God.
All right, got a lot of ground to cover right here. There is an effort by Republicans to kill off this electric vehicle mandate. And here's the thing: is as we get into the election final days, this isn't the sexiest topic out there,
right?
Because it's economics, it's regulatory, but this is crucial to almost every other aspect of our economy. But we want to talk about important things, you know, southern border, because you can see people running across, you can see the injustice, you can see all the problems, you can see the overrunning of the airports in Chicago or the school districts in Denver or whatever the case is. But this particular aspect of the economy is crucial that conservatives fight. And honestly, those on the left, or at least the center left, should see the same value point in stopping the government overreach on this as well, because we just don't have the capacity to make this happen, you know, with this.
Yeah. Every time they came up with one of these electric vehicle mandate things, I would always say, well, you know, reality, aka science, is against you. This is not it. This is not it, Chief. The technology isn't ready. The infrastructure isn't there. We're not capable of doing what they keep asking us to do as a nation. Even if the demand was there, even if people really liked and wanted electric vehicles as they currently stand, we don't have the capacity to deal with that.
Yeah, and not to mention we don't have the amount of electricity, like you just said, because essentially this is government that wants to force a massive change in the economy. And we don't have the infrastructure. We just don't have the ability to do it, even if this was the right thing to do. And it's not. When you look at what needs to be done to make this happen, to equip it, we don't have the materials. It's too expensive, and it is an artificial change. Listen, if the market moves towards electric vehicles on its own because it's a better product out there, great, but that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, it would be the equivalent of back when the world was running on whale oil, and somebody discovered petroleum in the ground. It's like, okay, we're going to switch to petroleum. It's like, wait a second. There's maybe one well currently operating. There are 0 refineries. What do you mean change over to petroleum? We're still running on whale oil. Our infrastructure is built around whale oil right now. Eventually we'll get there, but you can't force it, government. Right. And that's basically what they're trying to do. Right now our infrastructure is built around a petroleum based technology system. So, you know, we use gas for our cars. We use oil as lubricants. We use some of the byproducts of its refinement to make plastics. So the idea that we're suddenly going to blow up that entire infrastructure and say, okay, we're gonna get off of our oil addiction. We're gonna get off of our gasoline addiction, and we're just gonna switch over to electric vehicles. Just do it. Just make it happen. Yeah. That's not how it works, Chief.
Here's something President Biden had to say yesterday, because he's basically trying to do his legacy tour right now.
Oh yeah.
You know, the United Nations, and then also he's trying to backsell his policy wins, his political policy wins, basically gaslighting us into saying that they're working. But here's part of what he had to say when it comes to electric vehicles.
We've quadrupled the development of electric vehicles since it took office. We're deploying a fleet of clean school buses that will not pollute the air. Our postal service is going fully electric.
Okay, all of that's a lie.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
I mean, I believe that they're putting out a fleet of electric school buses.
Yes, but they get their electricity from our 60% coal-fired plant electrical grid. Yeah. So it's not going to pollute the air. Well, what do you mean by pollute, by the way, first of all? And then this idea that what was it? The post office is going to go full electric. Yeah, if they ever decide to do anything, you know, besides send our packages to other cities. I'm still mad about that, by the way.
And well, you should be.
You know, it's like wait a minute. It's seriously, none of this makes any sense. None of it is real. And every time he comes out to try to claim credit for having done something positive for the quote unquote environment, I roll my eyes.
But also at the same time, the idea that I'm going to brag about all the electric vehicles we're going to mandate and force on people. First of all, keep in mind, this is one of the reasons that so many union workers are really mad at you right now, and they're about to take it out on your vice president.
That's it. Electric vehicles take less people to construct than gas vehicles.
And so there's a lot of job loss. And here's the thing: if the market, if we come up with an electric vehicle that actually works, that is as strong, that you can power without taking away access to power for other people, without doing the damage that right now mining for these parts do, fantastic. Let the market do it. I still hope that someday we have a solar panel that really works the way that they try to tell us that it works. I mean, right now, you get a solar panel, it is a net loss.
Yes.
When it comes to your finances, when it comes to energy, when it comes to conservation. But I think when it comes to energy, we should look at every option that we've got out there. But by the way, that includes natural gas and oil right underneath our soil. I would love to get to a point someday. And there are some things that, I've got little solar powered gadgets.
Oh, sure.
I mean, for instance, if we lose power in our house and I need my phone to work, I've got a little solar powered charger that I can put out, and it's fully charged, and I can charge up my phone with that.
One of the ones you can lay it out in the sun.
This one's even smaller, actually.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, those two, you see those at like the prepping companies.
They fold out.
They fold out, and you could charge some. I mean, like small medical devices. You could charge maybe even a cooking thing or whatever the case is. Those things on a small scale, they work.
Oh, sure.
And that's great technology. But I would love to see someday that you got a solar panel that is actually worth its weight and worth the cost, where right now we don't have those, which is why government tries to pay you to put them in, because they brag, for instance, in Missouri, for instance. And I know Illinois got something similar. They had a program where basically they were forcing the power companies to subsidize and pay you to put solar panels on your homes.
Yep.
Well, why are they forcing them to pay you to do it?
Yeah. Why are they subsidizing this?
Because when you break down the cost, the upfront cost, the amount of savings that you get, and the lifespan of the solar panels, right now it's not worth it.
Yeah, see, the thing is, like, solar power, it works as a kind of an emergency or a backup sort of system, because the exorbitant cost is diminished by the fact that it is just a stopgap for when you're using your more efficient and your more capable systems. So trying to force it into the place of the first place, it's not just an emergency. It's basically you're asking to drive your car on donuts. Instead of actual tires, right? It's like, no, that's the backup. That's a just in case. It's small and ineffective for the long haul. So why are you forcing us into this?
And here's the ideological aspect of this as well. At this point, it should be painfully obvious that the idea either is not going to work or it's not going to work yet.
Yeah.
And yet, when you believe in big government, when you believe in authoritarian government, you say we're going to force the change, and then the market will adapt.
Oh,
that's what their argument is.
It will not.
Even those of you on the left who believe that everything should be solar or electric or whatever, and you want to ignore all the facts, why is it that you are sticking to your argument that this is a good idea for the economy? I mean, when Biden and others, J.B. Pritzker, for instance, we've created all these clean energy jobs. That would be the same thing as saying, you know what? I am dictator for life of News Talk STL. And I am going to require that News Talk STL put basketball hoops up in the building. Look at all the jobs I've created in the basketball hoop industry.
Hey, I'm all for that.
Yeah, you are, exactly.
I mean, that would make for some fun breaks. Me and Sal shooting hoops in between.
Right.
But
come on, Joe Rush, bring it on, buddy.
Exactly.
That's right.
But yeah, it's so stupid. And let me get into some of the nitty gritty here, just so you guys can understand. When you said, Mike, that it's a net loss of energy for a solar panel. That includes what it takes to mine the materials, to construct the thing, to locate it, and of course the cost of what happens when it eventually dies. The solar photovoltaic cells are no longer useful, and you have to bury them somewhere, and they leach into the ground.
Yeah, exactly. All right, 314-912-1019. Got some news to dump on you, including Missouri's latest and likely most controversial execution that happened last night. Bringing the news update in just a moment. Also, we're going to give you a chance to sound off on this because the questions are much, much bigger. Even if you're convinced that this was the right thing to do, do we have a system that guarantees the justice on that? We'll talk about that right around 8:35 here on 101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
style, no inspiration. You have a soul sewn down, it is no more. And all at once depart, no destination. You're making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now! I have had enough of this. Turn my eyes to your indifference. Stop it right now before you blow us all away. You wanna do that? Get up, and can't you hear the alarm? Get up, this is your cousin. Get up, what are you waiting for? Get up, get up.
When it's important to you,
They always discuss the most important topics.
it's on News Talk STL.
It's a 14-year-old student here at the high school. He will be charged with murder and he will be tried as an adult.
These websites were designed to appear to American readers as if they were major U.S. news sites.
News, analysis, opinion.
Now she's saying, we want to build a strong border. Where has she been for 3.5 years?
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
My talk station.
News Talk STL.
You ever heard the term paralysis by analysis? And that is easy to fall into when it comes to major decisions in your life. And honestly, one of the biggest decisions you and your family is ever going to make is to buy or sell a home, buy or sell any kind of real estate. And the interest rates are changing, supply and demand, these are all changing. But that shouldn't stop you from making the right long-term decision for your family. That's why you need to call Rodney and Jen. Mike Ferguson here for the Wallner Home Selling Team with Berkshire Hathaway. Give them a call today, 314-810-SOLD, 314-810-SOLD. Remember that number. I'm going to give it to you here in just a couple of minutes. Rodney and Jen are licensed in both in both Illinois and on the Missouri side of the St. Louis area. So they are able to help you make any investment or any move when it comes to buying a home or buying land in this case. And the thing about Rodney and Jen that strikes me, first time I met them years ago, how honest they are. First of all, very professional. They know what they're doing. There's a reason they are so successful. But part of that reason, a big part of that reason, is just simply how honest, how ethical. You are at ease when you're talking to Rodney and Jen because they listen and put your needs first. Let's be honest. Any kind of business where sales and commission is the driving factor in your income, a lot of people just want to make the sale and they want to push you one direction. That's not the way Rodney and Jen operate. Rodney and Jen have developed such a great reputation over the years because they truly put you and your family first. You're looking to buy a home, they're going to fight for you to get the best ROI, the best return on investment, the best dollar for dollar deal that you can possibly get. You're looking to sell a home? Listen, you need to talk to them right now, 314-810-SOLD, because they still have so many pre-approved buyers ready and looking for a home. Probably just like yours, you might not even have to list it. So give them a call today, 314-810-SOLD. They're not going to make you sign a contract or come into the office and sign up for paperwork. Just say, Mike was talking about you on the radio. Here's what I'm thinking about doing, or here's what I want to do. I've made up my mind. Give them a test drive. Talk to them. Find out what they can do for you. You'll understand very quickly what I came to understand. These are good people. These are honest people. These are ethical business people. They will keep your and your family's interest first, and you can count on them to get you the best dollar for dollar deal for your family. This is too important of a decision in your life to leave it to anybody else. Trust who I trust. Rodney and Jen Wallner. Once again, 314-810-SOLD.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Looking for an underwater adventure or a scaly new friend? Dive into Tropical World Pets on Watson Road. For 32 years, this family-owned wonderland has been St. Louis's go-to destination for all things aquatic and reptilian. With over 7,000 square feet of aquariums, we're home to the area's largest selection of freshwater fish, including rare cichlids you won't find anywhere else. But that's not all. We've got tarantulas, snakes, and lizards galore. Tropical World Pets, 314-849-4020, or visit twpstl.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on St. Louis radio for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. Doug and Safe Money Radio is on 3 times every weekend, but in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com or call 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233. Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Well, it started out down a dirty road.
Dan Bongino here. Keep it on News Talk STL because my show starts at 11 a.m. Right now, it's back to Mike Ferguson.
All alone.
All right, Missouri follows through with another execution. Also, Kamala Harris is apparently willing to change how the United States Senate functions in order to push through abortion on demand throughout the entire nation. And a Hall of Famer announces that he's got a very sad medical condition. Time to dump some news on you right now.
The Morning News Dump.
Are you joking? Is this a joke?
Listen, folks, the Morning News Dump.
All right, you're going to be hearing throughout the rest of the day today about the new report, a bipartisan investigation into the first assassination attempt of Donald Trump. Basically, what you are going to hear, we're going to get details throughout the day, is that it was preventable, it was foreseeable. There were communication breakdowns, and essentially the very people who were in charge of protecting a presidential nominee and former president were essentially in complete chaos in Pennsylvania back in July.
Yeah, well, from what we're seeing in the reports, there basically nobody could talk to one another, nobody knew anything, and nobody was in charge.
Right, and that is crucial because it wasn't just the Secret Service, because they're supposed to be in charge when other law enforcement agencies are involved as well, as far as state and local law enforcement, which they routinely use in these protectorate details at these events. So more details are going to be coming throughout the day. I suspect Vic and Ken will be talking about that. You know, Dan Bongino is going to be talking about that. And then throughout the afternoon
in his wheelhouse there.
Yeah. All right. Another execution takes place in Bonne Terre at 8:35. We've got time to get your thoughts on this as well. 55-year-old Marcellus Williams died by lethal injection on Tuesday. He was convicted of the brutal murder of Leisha Gay in 1998. Leisha Gale. Gale was stabbed over 40 times in her University City home during a burglary. Williams and his supporters argued that he was innocent, that he was wrongfully convicted. County Prosecutor Wesley Bell was among those who asked for the execution to be stopped. I'll go into more detail, like I said, around 8:35 on that. The case was heard and it was appealed and it was investigated for over 20 years, but that's what St. Louis, and that's to some degree what the entire nation is talking about right now.
Yeah, and if you want to talk about it and talk about it with us, not only just this particular case, but also the death penalty in general as a concept, give us a call at 314-912-1119.
Yeah, and so there are so many layers to this, because this is not your typical death penalty controversy. So we'll get to that in a little bit here. All right. Vice President Kamala Harris, according to multiple reports, is planning a trip to the southern border. That's interesting. She's supposedly the border czar, and she hasn't been actually to the border. I suspect she's been to on the border and had some good appetizers. I like that restaurant, but she hasn't actually been to the border. Obviously this is because illegal immigration still among the actual top issues for voters. Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick was on the Ingram Angle on Fox last night, not even just calling out the Biden and Harris administration, which normally is for the numbers,
right?
But he says it's even more personal than that.
We have about 300,000 children who have come here illegally, and Kamala Harris does not know where they are. And we can tell you where we sadly think many of them are. And that is that they're being forced to have sex 5, 6, 7 times a day as children or teenagers or young women, because they're put into the sex trade industry.
And of course, if she goes to the border, which actually surprises me that we're hearing reports of this.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of Republicans are saying, hey, this is just a political stunt. Well, maybe it is. I suspect it probably would be if it happens. I don't know what a win is for her. Honestly, from a campaign perspective, probably the best thing she can really frankly do is the equivalent of la 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 la. I can't hear you. Let's talk about this.
Well, and
because there's no win for her to go down to the border.
I can't believe you would say maybe it's a political stunt.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Well, and it would
Fair
be
enough. That's fair enough.
it would be more on brand for her just to kind of duck and run from this whole thing. I mean, she polls horribly when it comes to the border, and like on both sides. You know, of course, the far left people think the border should be, I guess, wider, the hole in it, and then
not the old school liberals.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true.
It's just the fringe.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. So yeah, it's all bad.
Yeah,
she has no positive there.
None.
It's weird.
And the vice president also now calling for an end to the filibuster in the U.S. Senate, specifically for one issue. She wants to end the filibuster to allow Democrats to pass a law guaranteeing that no pro-life laws would be in effect in the country, essentially.
Democrats have tried and failed in recent years to end the filibuster. Since the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022, Democrats, including President Biden, have suggested carving out an exception that would allow abortion protections to be passed without the filibuster. But that strategy could backfire for Harris and her party. Republicans appear poised to reclaim control of the Senate in November, meaning a relaxed filibuster rule would allow them to move their own legislation through the chamber with a simple majority vote. Bob Wagner reporting.
Always be careful of which government power you want to claim for yourself, because you can't claim it for yourself and not allow your opponents to have it.
Kind of fascinating that they've been fear-mongering this entire time about a national abortion ban, which nobody has suggested, while they're campaigning on a national abortion law to overturn all pro-life laws in the country.
Exactly.
It's kind of weird.
All right. I didn't mention this yesterday because, my disagreements with Donald Trump over tariffs and things are pretty well known, and people don't like it when I critique him, but I'm going to keep critiquing when I disagree. And when I think he's right, I'll say that he's right. But Donald Trump announced plans on Monday to target companies that essentially move production out of the U.S., particularly going to Mexico. On Monday, he declared his intent to levy a staggering 200% tariff. 200% tariff if John Deere were to relocate any of their production to Mexico and want to import things produced there. That extends, obviously, a protectionist approach. Trump told his supporters on Tuesday that his aim is to institute a 100% tariff on vehicles produced in Mexico. So essentially punishing specific businesses if they do things he doesn't like. So I'll just put it this way. Having the federal government assume at least some influence or control over the means of production. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, whenever the government puts their finger on the scale of the economy, it usually ends up badly. Now, I think during his administration, his other policies were so heavily favorable to the American economy that it kind of overshadowed the negative effects of his tariff policies. So why hamper yourself with tariff policies? Your economy could do gangbusters with your other stuff.
You know, it was interesting when he had the press conference, he went out of his way to say, I love John Deere, and we have tons of their equipment, meaning at the golf courses and his home and everything. So I love their product, but this is what I'd like to do.
Yeah. Right. I mean, this is essentially at some point, business and industry is going to be the kept woman. if we decide that we're going to punish them, it's going to be like, I love you, smack. No, don't leave me, smack. Well, these companies would rather produce in the United States because of the quality of workers.
Right.
So deal with the real problems, which are state and federal regulations, OSHA, EPA, things like that. But taking over or controlling through regulation or tariffs the means of production, well, there's a whole other category that you could call that. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell was asked about that.
I'm not a fan of tariffs. They raise the prices for American consumers. I'm more of a free trade kind of Republican that remembers how many jobs are created by the exports that we engage in.
Not a Mitch McConnell fan, but I actually think he's right about that.
He actually is.
Yeah.
Where's he been lately, by the way?
Yeah,
wondering.
In his shell.
He does look like
he
a
does
turtle.
look like a turtle. All right, more serious note here. Not a good way to transition here. Memorial services for St. Louis police officer David Lee are announced. The visitation will take place at the Friendly Temple Missionary Baptist Church on Martin Luther King Drive. That's going to happen Saturday, October 5th, so a week from this Saturday, from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. The funeral service then will start right at the end of the visitation at 1 o'clock. Okay, this raised some eyebrows in Washington, D.C. yesterday and around basically the whole country here. Brett Favre is testifying in front of Congress, and he was testifying at, I think it was a Ways and Means Committee hearing, and he's had a few controversies over some of his business dealings, but he revealed a medical diagnosis almost as a side note.
Yeah.
The 54-year-old was testifying about his efforts to secure funds for Prevacus, which is a company that's making drugs to treat concussions, when he revealed this out of nowhere.
Sadly, I also lost an investment in a company that I believed was developing a breakthrough concussion drug I thought would help others. And I'm sure you'll understand why it's too late for me, because I've recently been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
And everybody's like, wait, what?
Well, yeah, exactly. Whoa. Slow down.
Yeah.
Man.
And he believes, in his words, he believes he's had, I don't know whether he was using hyperbolic language or he actually believes that he's had around 1,000 concussions.
Oh my gosh.
Over the course of his 20+ year career.
Oh, I can believe it.
Wow. All right, 314-912-1019. Let's talk about Marcellus Williams, the death penalty. All right, we got some people lining up already to give your thoughts. We got to do an information segment. Hang on, everybody. If you hang on, Bill, you're going to be first. Otherwise, give us a call, 314-912-1019. The country's talking about Missouri right now, specifically St. Louis.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Is the hardest thing.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm meteorologist Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. After days of much needed rainfall, we're going to start to dry things out this afternoon. Temperatures nearing 75 degrees, a lot more sun as those clouds begin to break later. There is only a 10% chance for an isolated shower, but most of us are going to be dry. Now, this dry stretch does not last too long. While I expect Thursday to primarily have dry conditions, rain develops over the weekend. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Fox News commentary.
A woman is suing the New York Mets for $2 million after being forbidden from wearing her mega hat into the ballpark. I'm Tommy Lahren. More next.
Success. It's discipline. It's teamwork. It's the drive and passion inside of us that comes before all recognition. It's the best of each of us made better by the best in all of us. It's what Stifel's been doing for over 130 years. And it's why Stifel is one of the fastest growing global wealth management and investment banking firms in the industry. Stifel. It's where success meets success. Start your journey at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Trump fan R. Moody is seeking $2 million in damages from the New York Mets after she alleges she was barred from entering Citi Field due to her mega hat. Now, she claims back in August, a Citi Field employee denied her entry due to the political nature of her hat, but she eventually entered without the hat and alleges other white attendees were wearing mega attire. Court documents show Moody is alleging racial discrimination and political retaliation, as well as reputational harm in her lawsuit. Back in August, a Mets spokesperson told the New York Post that the employee was mistaken about the attire policy, and they plan to reach out to apologize and invite her back to the ballpark. While $2 million might be a hefty price tag over a mega hat, good for her for speaking up and standing her ground. Trump supporters are sick and tired of being treated like second-class citizens. I'm Tommy Lahren.
Tim Jones here. I want to tell you about an awesome business located in my hometown of Eureka, Missouri that we use all the time for our exterior homestead needs. Eureka Contracting and Roofing. Veteran owned. They will come to you and schedule a one-on-one consultation. They know that replacing your roof or anything on the exterior of your home is always a really big deal, which is why they've always got a no pressure, no obligation inspection and evaluation. Fully licensed and insured. Nothing but the highest quality of materials made right here in the USA. 636-938-ROOF. 636-938-ROOF. EurekaContracting.com. That's EurekaContracting.com.
Dreaming of upgrading your outdoor space? STL FenceWorks is the choice for you. Our skilled craftsmen build custom fences from modern vinyl to classic ornamental, fitting your style and budget. Elevate your outdoor living with low-maintenance decks designed to relax and entertain. We choose only top quality American-made materials, ensuring your project is built to last. Your satisfaction is our passion. With over 50 years of experience, custom designs, and exceptional customer service, visit stlfenceworks.com today.
As a mom, comforting my family is what I do best. Vicks VapoStick provides soothing, non-medicated Vicks vapors in an easy-to-apply stick. And it dries fast, so there's no mess. I use it to comfort myself and my family.
Thanks, Mom.
Vicks VapoStick, soothing comfort for the whole family. And when you need more comfort for yourself, try Vicks Vapo Shower Max for steamy Vicks vapors.
Use as directed. VapoStick for use ages 4 and up. Vapo Shower Max use for adults only.
Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my side softer?
Can I make my side firmer whenever I want?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. 94% of Sleep Number smart sleepers report better sleep. JD Power ranks Sleep Number #1 in customer satisfaction with mattresses purchased in-store. And now, during our biggest sale of the year, save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed. Limited time. For JD Power 2023 award information, visit jdpower.com/awards. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
If you find yourself feeling out of place in the world, it's comforting to know conservative values haven't been abandoned everywhere.
The far left wants to destroy conservative values in America.
This is News Talk STL. Welcome home.
Danny Define here with the Next Gen, all new time this Sunday at 8 p.m. Now pour up a hot cup of coffee and tune back into the Mike Ferguson Show.
All right. You woke up this morning to the news that Marcellus Williams was executed last night in Bonne Terre. And there's always a debate over the death penalty itself when this happens. And there's always a news flash around the country that this happens. But really, there's a massive debate over this particular execution. Because oftentimes you've got the people who are trying to save the condemned's life basically arguing this isn't just, we should get rid of the death penalty. And they make the death penalty the actual focal point.
Bad guy.
Right. Even if they acknowledge that the person did it. With Marcellus Williams, they're not conceding that point. In 1998, the murder happened. It was brutal.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think it was stabbed 40 times.
43 times.
43 times during a home invasion.
Leisha Gale was murdered in U City as a part of apparently a burglary.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a brutal murder. And he was convicted of it.
Right.
There were appeals that went up the process because it was a capital murder case. And still his execution was stayed years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then Governor Eric Greitens appointed a special committee, basically a panel, to investigate the accusations of prosecutorial mistakes, of investigatory mistakes, and the claims that he actually was innocent, but the system and the process was corrupted, leading to his conviction. After many, many years, they concluded that there was no evidence that his sentence should be overturned or that the sentence should be overturned. And so it proceeded up until last night. 314-912-1019. Let's start with Bill here. Hey, Bill, you're on News Talk STL. What's your take? Do we have Bill? I don't think we have Bill.
Oh, man.
All right.
We waited all that time.
I know. 314-912-1019. I know we got a few other people who are
what? He may be on this other line.
Let's go ahead and grab that and talk about that, because the protest, again, was there were people who just aren't in favor of the death penalty, but they were saying in this particular case that he was actually innocent. There have been innocent people cleared from death row around the country in the past. We know that has happened.
Some of them posthumously.
Yeah, some of them.
I can never say that word properly.
Is this Bill?
I think so.
All right. Hey, Bill, you're on News Talk STL. What do you think?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yep, yes, sure can.
Hey, good morning. Hey, so I used to be a staunch supporter of the death penalty, but about 2 years ago, particularly after listening to a local guy's story where he was wrongfully convicted, and Kevin Green, but just in general, I'm pro-life, and I just consider, and this is just for me personally, I don't, push this on anybody else, but I couldn't be a hypocrite and say pro-death penalty and then pro-life. I think life in prison is a much worse punishment than death. And I can't be a hypocrite and say I support the death penalty, but then also support pro-life.
Okay.
And that's just my personal belief on the death penalty.
Yeah. Hey, Bill, I appreciate you being on and throwing that out there on the air, man. Thanks. I appreciate that. And this is one of those areas, because I know you kind of lit up when you said that when you get to it. What you think there? See, that argument, there are people who disagree, but I think that is a defensible, logical argument.
Yes.
Now, I'm not convinced I 100% agree, but I've heard people mock Bill's argument, and I don't think they should. Even if you end up disagreeing with it, I think that is an argument that deserves to be part of the conversation.
Yeah. And I agree that, the idea that, we want to protect the sanctity of human life,
right.
That concept, I understand that can pervade someone's understanding of all these things to such a degree that they come out on the other side on the death penalty idea. Now, where I would push back, though, is that, we're making a distinction. We're making a very specific distinction. Life in utero is innocent, right, and the whole concept behind the death penalty is you're specifically targeting someone who is not innocent. They're, in fact, they are guilty of something most heinous. I mean, I would contend that God is both pro-life and pro-death penalty. If you read the Bible, it's kind of pervades both throughout. So that's kind of where I come from.
But the argument, and I tend to agree with you, but I think the argument has merit, and it's a very respectable argument.
Yeah, it's particularly respectable given the failings of humanity to execute justice properly, and that's, I think, where the real rub is for a lot.
You need to find here with the next gen, all new time this Sunday at 8 p.m. Now pour up a hot cup of coffee and tune back into the Mike Ferguson Show.
Okay, so
little accidental button
my beef is not personally with the death penalty.
Right. As a concept.
As a concept, it's not. Cases like this where there's question is now I say question. I have not followed this case that closely. There may be people far more learned on it than I am who say there's no question he's guilty. There are other people who say there's no question he's not guilty. Okay, so I just don't know.
We can't speak to the specifics.
I don't have a beef with the death penalty itself, but I sure, as the years go on, have more and more of a beef with trusting basically any level of government with the power to take a life, because we see so much ineptitude, because we now are seeing an increase in the weaponization of law enforcement and in prosecution. And I'm not just talking about the Donald Trump stuff. Okay. That's not what I'm talking about. Although for a lot of people, they would say, hey, wait a minute, if they can prosecute that, then what can't they? So I get that. I've heard it said that all murder cases are political. I don't know that I agree with that.
Yeah,
or all capital murder cases are political. I'm not sure I agree with that either. But the fact of the matter is that running for a prosecutor's job is a fast track to running for Congress.
Yeah.
In many cases around the country.
Yeah.
And I'm not even criticizing the people who have been prosecutors or attorneys general, because they have a motivation to lock you up. They have a motivation to go for the harshest penalty.
Hey, this is a high profile case. I can make my name on this case and then run on it later.
I'm tough on crime, and we should be tough on crime. But we want to make sure there aren't the perverse incentives. And I mean that from an economic and political perspective on this. So with the Innocence Project, there have been over 100 condemned inmates who have been exonerated. And when I say exonerated, that's a very specific term, meaning upon further review, we found out you did not do it.
That's
over
huge.
100 times in this country. Now, there are thousands of people on death row, and probably 95% plus of them done it.
Yep.
And deserve it.
Absolutely.
But we've got to make sure that if we're going to have a death penalty, and if Missouri's going to have it, and if the country's going to have it, that we are using that as part of a system that we can trust. And the question that I then ask, can you trust the system right now?
Yeah. And currently I can't. I mean, look, if our system was such that, the Innocence Project couldn't find enough cases to stay in business, basically. It's like, oh, well, we found one case in the last 100 years where an innocent person is on death row. If that were the case, I was like, okay, well, that's actually a pretty good track record. Maybe the system is actually working there. And this particular one was a really egregious case of overreach or something like that. But if you're talking like 100, that sounds like even like you said, even among the thousands of people on death row right now, 100 is over the last decade or so is too many.
Oh yeah,
that's way too many,
without a doubt.
I'd much rather people just stay in prison for life, and that be the risk as opposed to killing people, and that's the risk.
And here's the thing: if you, in a premeditated way, go and take somebody else's life, I think that justice is in many cases the death penalty. I'm not talking about self-defense. I'm not talking about questionable situations where a fight got out of hand. I'm not talking about. I'm talking about these rare cases where we actually pursue, which is why I don't think I would be in favor of like constitutionally eliminating the death penalty.
Right, exactly.
But I certainly would not be upset if we put a moratorium on it to investigate the system and the process itself to make sure that we can have confidence in that.
Yeah, I mean, we talked briefly about that case where some guy just walks up to a homeless man on the street. We're watching the video of it, and he puts a gun up to his head, pulls the trigger. We've seen that. There were people on the street watching that happen. There is no question that man is guilty of a knowing murder. Right? That guy is he should have an express lane to the I always want to say the chair, but nobody uses the chair anymore. And then of course you have these other cases where it's like, well, there might be DNA, but he worked in the house as a handyman, and and he's like, who knows what happened? It's like there are no footprints, there's no other evidence. Like maybe he was there, maybe he wasn't. He's like, he was supposed to be sleeping at the time, but he lives up by himself. All of those cases, we've seen those things too. Gosh, no, don't put that man on death row.
Right. And I understand the activists, want to make every effort to stop an execution.
Sure.
I understand that. And this is one of those areas where I truly see both sides. And I think both sides are argued in good faith and in good principles and argued ethically. The lawyers always throw everything they can at the last second. The closer it gets to the execution, the more they will throw anything at the wall.
Oh yeah, the desperation,
even if
is
it's
real.
Desperate, dishonest, even borderline ethical. Doing anything and everything, and that's what they do. But in this case right here, 20 years of investigation.
Special counsel created by Governor Greitens was that I think a decade or and a half.
Well, no, Eric was elected. When was he elected? No, it may have been a decade ago. Man, he may have been out of office that long.
Yeah.
But it was
the commission was only
recently
dissolved.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right, got some thoughts on it? Let me know. 314-912-1019. If you're on Rumble, you can go find us right now. There's a really interesting conversation going on in the chat box there as well. All right, 314-912-1019.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning.
Rev up at Mount Vernon Fall Fest presents free entertainment September 27th and 28th at the SSM Health Good Samaritan stage. Southern Grit takes the stage Friday night, followed by Hunter Girl. Saturday welcomes Stir of Echoes, Danger Party, and Fuel. Find the full list of fun at mtvfestivals.com. Withers Broadcasting, Mount Vernon Tourism, Deaconess Illinois Crossroads, Munkin Toyota, Enjoy Illinois, and Continental Tire are proud major sponsors of the Mount Vernon Fall Fest.
Discover the Wine Cafe, a family-owned gem in the heart of St. Charles Historic District, offering an extensive selection of wines for every palate: red, white, sparkling, and rosé. Indulge in our wine tastings and flights, or pair your favorite vintage with our diverse menu. From our Tisdale cheeses to flatbed pizzas, we've got something for everyone. Looking for domestic beers? We got you covered too. Experience the charm of the Wine Cafe today. 703 South Main Street or online at thewinecafe.biz.
1949, the last time a Republican held the top post in St. Louis City. A gallon of milk was 84 cents, and streetcars ran down Grand Avenue. The city was booming. Unfortunately, St. Louis city streets are no longer the epicenter of family and business life. In the 80 years of Democrat control, our city has been on a steady decline. St. Louis City Republicans believe it is our duty to provide a different path forward. Learn more at stlouisrepublicans.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican Pat Curtis, Farber Treasurer.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness 101. Wellness 101 is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense, science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on News Talk STL. For more information, visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
We'll speak with Ethan Thappy of the Missouri Hemp Trade Association on their upcoming psychedelic conference. And at 5:20, Brianna Lyman, elections correspondent for the Federalist.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps. Weekdays at 4 on News Talk STL. Listen anytime. It happens anywhere. Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news
with the News Talk STL app. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com.
Hi, it's Vic Porcelli.
And Ken.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, Vic.
Ken and I are on every Monday through Friday, 9 to 11, right here on News Talk STL. Right now, you're listening to Mike Ferguson in the morning on 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Whoosh, my morning people.
Hey, if you're watching us on Twitter or X or Facebook or Rumble, first of all, thank you. Secondly, please hit that like thing, whether it's the heart or the thumbs up thing.
Yeah.
Please do that. That really does go a long way. All right. And don't forget, Flashback Fridays coming up on, well, I think let's do it on Friday this year.
Yeah, this time. Yeah.
So send us your 80s bump music request. You got to get those in by tomorrow afternoon in order to make it into Friday's show. So let's do that. Brett Favre.
Yeah.
He's testifying in front of Congress, and they're talking about, funding and,
concussion
research
syndrome and all, yeah.
Because Brett Favre has had some controversies regarding like his participation in government programs and investments and all that. But he was talking about a company that he was trying to invest in, and I think they were trying to get funding for regarding treatment for concussions. And then out of nowhere, he announces, I've been diagnosed with Parkinson's.
Yeah, that was really random. I mean, because you'd think that would be like a press conference all his own,
right?
It's like something like that, but or a statement or a open letter or something like it. But he just kind of threw it in along with as an aside to something else that he's focused on.
And
that was weird.
He also has said that he thinks that over and he played football. I mean, he was in the NFL for almost 20 years.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
didn't he retire and come back? Isn't that?
Yeah,
wasn't that him?
He was one of those.
He's
guys.
one of those guys, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
But I don't know how many years total, but it was close to 20 years. And then you have college, and then you have
high school.
So he probably played football for 25 years
easily,
if not more. And he believes that he had 1,000 concussions. Now that seems really, really high to me.
It does, but
unless concussions heal within a couple days, I don't know that you can get to 1,000. But he says that he had obviously many, many, many concussions, which he was of the last generation that was kind of at the end of that really hardcore old school football, because back in the day, man, you see the video, the way they used to play back in the days of like, Jack Lambert and, some of those guys. I mean, they played to break you in half.
Well, every highlight in the intro to the wide world of sports would have been a penalty now. Like every highlight that they showed is a penalty now.
And if you go far enough back, the helmet protection was minimal, if any, back in the day.
I have a theory.
Yeah.
I think if you want to end a lot of these maybe this is what you were going to say.
This might be my controversial opinion.
We'll compare notes here.
Okay, so my theory is get rid of pads and helmets.
Okay, see, that's very similar. I was going to say, if you want to end or at least greatly reduce the concussions and all these brutal injuries, bring back the leather helmets with nothing on the face.
Yeah. Well,
because think about it. If you're spearing at somebody and you're going to hit them, your helmet's not protecting you. It's a weapon.
Right.
But if you've just got the leather thing to protect from the harder hit on the ground, you're going to be much more strategic in your tackling.
Yeah, and this comes from what we know about rugby.
I was just going to say, then you've got rugby.
Right.
If you're going to play that way.
Well, and because the thing about rugby is they actually suffer fewer concussions than NFL players do, and you wonder why. It's like, well, they have nothing on. It's like, they have no head protection. How is it that they have fewer concussions? Well, it's because they move their bodies differently.
Yeah.
I think when you put football pads on and a helmet, you feel like a knight in armor,
right?
And they throw themselves into the game in a different way than somebody with no protection would.
You remember the movie that came out a few years ago? Well, it might have been more than a few years ago, that investigated CTE.
Oh, yeah. I remember that. And that was about 10 years ago. Yeah.
That was a fascinating behind the scenes look. And I think a lot of the folks that saw the movie didn't realize how serious the injuries really are.
I think it was just called concussion.
You're right.
That was Will Smith. Was in that.
Yeah, that's right.
Because the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers and the NFL were particularly made out to be the bad guys.
Yes.
In that. And believe me, I can tell you firsthand that the Chiefs were freaking out over that behind the scenes. And I know that because I worked with the Chiefs radio network at the time. And I knew some people in there who were telling me what was going on. That movie had a bigger impact, at least for a little while, than a lot of people realize.
Yeah. And it kind of goes into sort of our sports culture, right? Where on some levels, you're like, oh, just rub some dirt on it, get up and get back in the game, and we've been doing that for forever. Now, I think it's different now, though, because of, like I said, I think the pads have changed the way people move, the way they engage. Like you said, they use their helmets as a weapon, right. And it's just my helmet hitting somebody else and their pads on their body, right? So it's like, for some reason, just the way the mentality that goes along with playing football in full pads is different.
Look at the old school grainy footage of football way back in the day, whether it's college or the early NFL or whatever. Look at how they tackled. They grabbed you around the legs or the waist and they pulled you down.
Yes.
Then we got the highlight reels where we're laying you out and then doing the professional wrestler dance over you. And that started selling tickets. That started selling t-shirts. That started selling ads. That started selling Gatorade endorsements. NFL's like, this is great. Oh, wait, people are going crazy, losing their mind. Oh, it's related. So right now we have to decide, which do we value the most?
Yeah. Well, you can't sell the tiny little branded helmets to the kids, right? If you don't have those big, gigantic plastic things.
That's
now,
right? I'd wear one. I'm just saying I would.
Just around.
Craving the most delicious pizza in town? Head to Monocle's on Highway K in the heart of O'Fallon. From thin crust to pan pizza, gluten-free options, and every topping imaginable. Monocle's, as you covered. Indulge in mouth-watering calzones, party-sized salads, and our famous sweet and tart dressing. Family-owned and locally operated, Monocle's serves up love and care with every bite. Dine in or carry out, and don't forget to try our banana-licious monkey bread for dessert. Order online at monocles.com or stop in today and tell them News Talk STL sent you.
We've been here 30 years, 30 Christmases in this house, and we have the traditions that most families have.
That's Terry talking about her experience with Rhino Shield ceramic coating.
We did Rhino Shield 14 years ago, and the house still looks the same as the first day. Rhino Shield really worked with me to help me get just the right, nice, soft yellow, and it's 14 years later, and it's the same color.
The main reason Terry called Rhino Shield is because it's backed by its 25-year transferable warranty.
It just sounded wonderful that we could have the house